And good morning. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. That means editions of me being Glenn and him being Griffin. Our chief fan, Stan the Fan Charles, is back in studio with us. Good to see you.
Good to see you guys. Good morning. Top of the morning to you.
Good to have you back. Well, I guess it wasn't you that was out last week. It was me that was out last week.
It was Griffin that caused the
Griffin
whole
started
thing.
the dominoes, and then from there, it was just a whole thing. But good to have you back. We got a busy show ahead. Orioles and Rays start a series tonight. We're going to talk to a couple of former Towson Tigers this morning. Rays play-by-play voice Andy Freed and former Towson baseball standout Richie Palacios, who
should have had him on my team.
Oh?
Should have had him on my family.
Is there a story there? Like, did you have your eye on him?
No, I did not have my eye on him. He's putting together a real solid season.
Sure is.
Stealing, how many stolen bases?
Nine stolen bases. Yep.
He's going to end up with 25.
Rays outfielder Richie Palacios will join us a little bit later on in the program. Also this morning, we'll talk Orioles with Ben Verlander. He had Gunnar Henderson on his podcast this week. And later on in the program, BJ Burlace. One of the more interesting stories was the brothers Burlace in the national championship picture. As, of course, Colin, a starting defender for Maryland, and both BJ and Gavin playing for Notre Dame. They got the better of it. We'll talk to BJ a little bit later on. So all that coming up on the program today.
I love Gunnar Henderson's TV commercial for the pizza.
For the Papa John's thing?
John's
yeah, right.
Thing. His acting is so good when he says, well, who wouldn't?
Look, so obviously the Orioles were off last night, and they open up the series of the Rays tonight. Did I see the Yankees lost? Did I see that? Am I
No,
wrong
they
about
won
that?
last
Damn
night.
it.
They won.
Damn it.
Carlos Rodon,
Oh,
7-2.
Son of a bitch.
Should have had him on my team.
You really, everybody who's on your team?
An awful lot of underperformers.
All right.
Like Snell or something. Yeah, like,
No, I don't have Blake Snell. We're American League only.
right.
So yes, the Orioles entered this weekend now a little bit further behind the New York Yankees. Still tied in the loss column.
Two games behind.
Games, yes, 2 games. The Yankees being
39
39-19.
4 wins behind. Yeah.
Yes, the Orioles have played just a few fewer games. So Stan, I've saved a few things that we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, and I'm going to run them by you today and get your thoughts on them. And we got to spruce into some things. We got to get to this week in the rest of baseball. We're going to do a tidbit and tubular a little bit earlier than we usually do, just because we got a loaded back end of the show.
Right.
So we'll move some things around. I'll start with one that I have been accused of being obsessed with, and I'm not. It's just that, like, I bring it up when I talk about concerns. I remain concerned, to say the least, about the Orioles on base percentage. It's something that whenever we have a talk about what's going on with this team, I say, yes, I think this is a very good baseball team. Obviously, that part I don't have to defend whatsoever. But I am concerned about their ability to win a World Series. Now, the on-base percentage dipped as low as 301. It has bumped back up a little bit to 305. Which is still...
The last time we talked about it was 305. That was about a month ago.
And it got low. It got really... I mean, it got abysmal.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think 305 is good, but it's better than
than
where
301,
it was. Yes,
yeah.
correct. It's better than where it was. And I think the point is it doesn't feel like necessarily there's been a strategy change or anything along those lines. It still feels like they're very aggressive early on in counts. And we're a few weeks deeper now into the season. We're now 2 full months.
The numbers start to be a little bit more baked in.
Exactly right. Like, this kind of is who you are at this point.
Yeah.
So we'll get to what you do about it, but I guess I'll just start broadly. Do you share those concerns about a 305 on base percentage?
Overall, I do. There's no question about it. You know, that we talked about this, too, that 2014 team when they
Giants.
Acquired Andrew Miller,
team. Yeah, got
the
it.
Orioles.
Yes.
You know, I really believed that they were going to beat the Tigers, and I really felt they were going to beat the Royals. And what bit them in the ass was that they just never got on base enough against the Kansas City Royals. And the Royals had, I believe, like an on-base percentage of 330
That sounds...
in 2014. And the Orioles was about 312, if I'm not mistaken. It looked like these last 2 years that the on-base percentage was starting to improve alongside our pitching was starting to improve. And it is a number that I keep a fairly close eye on, and I haven't, to be honest with you, I haven't been paying attention. It's not really shocking when you have Mullins having the year he's having, Hayes having the year he's having, Santander having the overall season he's having. It's not a surprise that those three guys have kind of weighed it down. And Ramon Urias, God bless him, he hit a home run the other night, but I'm sure his is in the low 200s.
So I feel like you're going to the next step of the equation, which is...
let's get rid of a bunch of these players.
Is a breaking point coming? And that, I think, is the part that, like, a lot of us are still struggling with. I think we talk all the time about, you could break from Cedric Mullins, but for what, right? Like, to say, hey, let Austin Hayes play center field, well, he's not
Right.
He's not productive.
Right.
To let Colton Cowser play center field, well, he's actually looked pretty good when he's played center field, but his offensive numbers have not been good for some time. What are you doing if you move on from Cedric Mullins?
I'm not suggesting that the club is going to make that determination this year. They got some decisions to make. Santander's a free agent after this season. Hayes and Mullins, I believe, are after 25.
Correct.
And Mountcastle after 26. And those start to be some expensive decisions when you're talking about trying to extend certain players and you got new blood coming in, which is what you really want to do, is have new blood coming through the pipeline so you can let go of some people and sign a couple of your key players. I am concerned about it. I guess that Gunnar Henderson, the season he's having, and I know the average isn't what we would be hoping for, but the season he's having and the season Rutschman are having, when you have two players that are putting up those kind of numbers, they kind of mitigate somewhat the overall problem, but it is a problem. It is a problem, and it's
Jordan
been
Westberg's in that conversation as well, right? Who has a 351 on base percentage. Like those are
and Ryan O'Hearn, I would guess, has
Ryan
a pretty
O'Hearn,
good.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So those are the guys that are kind of carrying you. I think the guy that was put in the positive crosshairs this week, and the guy that Orioles fans are saying, why aren't you going to play him more frequently, would now be Kyle Stowers, right?
Yeah.
Like the argument is, particularly, you're at a point with Austin Hayes where you can only justify him playing against lefties. Like you can't play him against righties. He's hitting something like 060 against righties this season. Now, he is still hitting 300 against lefties, which is the reason why he was turned to in a pinch hitting spot the other night. Obviously, it didn't work out. He struck out with the bases loaded, but the math was not flawed. Like, there was a reason why Brandon Hyde went to him in that spot. I think the question becomes, do you give Kyle Stowers the kind of everyday opportunity? Do you say, look, he's here. He did, as has been pointed out, in the minor leagues, he actually hit lefties. Do you give him the treatment of, let's let him prove that he can swim until he drowns, the way that you've clearly done that with Colton Cowser, despite the fact that, again, offensively, he has let you down in the last few weeks? And you just sort of, in that way, move on from both of them at the same time and say our center fielder and left fielder, for the most part, are going to be Cowser and Stowers.
Well, you do face about 70% right-handed pitching, so it would seem that there are opportunities, especially when Rutschman is not DHing, or even when Santander can move to first base or DH when Rutschman's not DHing. That would give you an open spot at one of the outfield spots for the two of them.
But it sounds like you're saying you're not inclined to have both Hayes and Mullins become non-everyday players.
No, I'm not willing to throw the baby out with the bathwater just yet. I mean, remember, Austin Hayes, the numbers are the numbers this year. There's no question about it. He was an all-star last year. And I know we can now look at that. Well, maybe that was a bit of an aberration. It may very well have been a bit of an aberration last year, but I'm not willing to just toss him aside just yet. I think there's a little too much of that going on in the fan base right now. And, every few days these guys do pop up. I mean, Hayes has hit fairly well since he's returned.
He was for a little bit. That's cooled off too, right? Like he had like a couple of that first week where you were
he's
like,
probably only had 12 or 14 at bats, but his first couple of pinch hitting appearances,
right.
He came through. I'm just not ready to hand the job over to Stowers, but I will repeat something I said about a month ago. I think they mishandled the whole Stowers thing. When he was as hot as he was in spring training, he would have been my guy to come north instead of signing, what's his name, Tony Kemp.
Oh, yeah.
The guy had hit 7 home runs, and I know I've seen guys have amazing springs.
Jake Fox says hello.
That's the one. He had like eight or 9 home runs or something like that, crazy, and then the season started. But Stowers, to me, warranted, hey, he's on a roll. Let's see if we can keep that roll alive, at least until we feel we need to bring Jackson Holliday up. And we'll never know what would have happened if Stowers came up at the beginning of the season and got playing time, whether he would have, responded.
But
when you send a guy down, you don't know what that's going to do to their psyche. And we're looking at Jackson Holliday now, and I would say that some of Jackson Holliday's problems now are related to the failure at the big league level. Being sent back down.
Yeah, that might be true. It's the thing that, and I believe it was Andy McPhail who said to me once upon a time, like, if that's what breaks you, something's always going to break you, right?
Yeah.
Like this is a game of failure. Like this is the way.
Well, nobody's saying that Jackson Holliday is broken for good.
And I think that that's okay. I think it's okay for him to go through that and learn from it and come out on the other side. By the way, Hayes now 7 of 28 since he returned.
Okay, that's 250.
It's certainly better than his overall. But
right.
Still with one walk. One walk in that time period.
Stowers also is 26, and I would like to be finding out about Kyle Stowers now and giving him some type of opportunity before he gets either jettisoned, thrown in a trade, and then we're looking 2 years from now, and he's suddenly with the San Diego Padres, and you're going, God, that would have been a nice guy to have.
I acknowledge that if you want to call me a conspiracy theorist, where I have been a conspiracy theorist has been related to Connor Norby, because it's been the most confusing thing that I've ever come across. I have no idea what to make of it, but to me, when you bring up Ramon Arias, my question is, I get it, like he did in that moment. Ramon Arias, and by the way, oddly, he's always hit the Red Sox. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah,
you look at Ramon Arias' numbers, he's always hit the Red Sox, weirdly. But yes, he comes through in that moment, and that probably earns him a little bit. That probably bought him a few more weeks. Whereas that I've been at the place for some time with Ramon Arias where I've said I just don't think that you can justify his roster spot any longer. And if defense is the thing you're hiding behind with Connor Norby, you sure as hell can't turn to Ramon Arias' defense the last 2 seasons and say that justify. He's got 1 season in his career that stands out where he was a really good defender, and everything else in his career says he's not even an average defender. Mm-hmm. I can't justify that. I can't continue to justify the Connor Norby's on the other side of 25. All he's ever done is hit and produce, and you continue to have him taking at bats at AAA when Ramon Arias is holding a roster spot. It simply doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. I think Norby, though, is still 23 years old.
Is he still 23?
Yeah,
all right.
I believe
then
so.
Who am I confused? Maybe it's because I think Stowers.
It's probably, Kerstad and Stowers are both.
They both
Kerstad's bumping up on 25.
You're right about Norby. He's 23. Yeah. Still, he's not 20. Like he's not.
I understand, and it's hard to see what he needs to do to find a little playing time at the major league level. Again, Hayes, all-star last season, not willing to dump him just yet. Mullins certainly not willing to dump him yet. There's something, I can't put my finger on it. There's that old expression, he looks like he's old all of a sudden, but I can't quite put my finger on it. He looks like he's swinging awfully softly to me. He's just not whipping the bat the way he can. But Norby, Arias, to counterbalance what we're talking about, I probably would have moved on from him and and gotten Norby up here.
Yeah, that's my one. That's the one that I just keep coming back to and saying I can't justify it.
Yeah.
And then before we talk to Andy Fried here in a second, I think the other topic du jour has been Craig Kimbrell's bounce back. He's looked pretty good. Obviously, had a very good weekend in Chicago last weekend, albeit on one night aided by a bizarre game-ending call. But, that's what it is. It's not his fault. He got the pop-up.
Right.
Are you back to a place where you're comfortable and confident in Craig Kimbrell being the closer like the rest of the season, or is it?
I never got uncomfortable with him. I thought he was hurt during that period, and I also thought that Brandon Hyde's usage of him, again, I repeat myself, last year he threw 69 innings, which is the most innings he'd thrown since 2018, and he was awful the second half of the year. We get him. But his strikeout numbers show me that he's got to have something last year. He struck out, about 84 batters in 69 innings, I think it was.
Up, yeah.
But to me, when we got him, I said, well, this is good, great. We'll bump his innings from 69 down to the mid-50s and keep him sharp the whole year. I thought it was hugely important that the other night when they got that lead, and I go,
It was 94 strikeouts.
Yeah, 94 and 69 innings. That's why I knew there was still life in his arm, but he needs a little more time to recoup. And I thought the night that they came in with Perez to get the save, I think we had a 3-run lead in Chicago, and I said, God, he's going to use Kimbrell for a second straight day. And lo and behold, it was a 3-run lead. I'm not saying if Perez had gotten into trouble, he wouldn't have quickly gone to Kimbrell, but that's hugely important that now you have that precedent set that he can use somebody else. And I'll tell you who else I think. I thought Dylan Tate's reemergence.
Dylan Tate on Saturday was brilliant.
Was unbelievable.
Yes.
And I think Dylan Tate is, I wrote, in fact, in my baseball power rankings, I did something a little different this week. I wrote MVP up to Memorial Day, and then I did most important player from here on in. With the Orioles, I put Dylan Tate as my most important player.
This is what we talked about before the season. If you can get the 2022 Dylan Tate, then you've got something. But at the beginning of the year, you weren't getting the 2022 Dylan Tate. Right. Now, if that
coming off an injury in 23 that cost him the whole season.
If that was a sign of his ability to get back there, yes, he becomes an extraordinarily valuable player in this bullpen.
Because I think Cano, again, gets overused, and then we get ticked off that why can't he just he's overused. That's all there is to it, And Keegan Aiken has taken a step back.
Serious step back. Yeah.
Well, I mean, at least that one game it was.
It's been the last 3 appearances have all been kind of really bad, and I think there's a lot of clamoring about, hey, what are you doing to Nick Vespi? Why wouldn't you let him have the opportunity to prove that he can get lefties out at the major league level consistently? And I certainly don't see anything in Vieira. Like, I have no idea what.
I don't. By the way, Luke Jackson called me the other night. We all got a hand of watching Yohan Ramirez.
Yeah.
Did you hear about his game in the Dodger game? He came in and pitched to 3 batters. He walked one. He hit the first batter, walked the next batter, then hit the third batter. And there's a viral picture that's going around of Dave Roberts hugging him and talking to him, and the caption or the story was basically, "This is why players love Dave Roberts." Playing for Dave Roberts.
That's
but that appearance. That sounded like his night with the Orioles when he hit 2 batters and threw a wild pitch.
There's an obsession with that guy. Yeah, everybody wants to give that guy a shot. I have no idea.
And Vieira, I have a feeling, is of the same ilk, in terms of can't control stuff. And I don't know. I looked at his numbers when we acquired him.
Right.
I understand why the deal was made. We apparently were desperate, Eric told me, desperate for arms in the Florida Complex League.
Okay.
The Orioles were short arms.
Okay.
They were having catchers finish games.
Okay.
So
that doesn't sound great.
They acquired that 19-year-old pitcher.
Right.
And that guy we don't know what he'll be made of, but he'll certainly eat some innings up.
I'm all right with
but
I'm
with
good.
with Vieira,
Good with Thiago
Vieira,
Vieira.
I don't need.
I can't justify that one either.
He may be the first Oriole to be from Brazil, though.
Okay, so he's got that going for him, which is nice. I can't confirm that, but off the top of my head,
I'm pretty sure he
can't
is.
come up with another one either. So
Somebody may have visited Brazil.
Yeah, stopped by and said hello at some point. Maybe gone to a soccer match, something along those lines. You mentioned Eric Garfield. You guys did get together yesterday.
Yep, we just did kind of a potpourri of Bowie and Norfolk. Looked at a couple different performers, and also talked a little bit about that Florida Complex League team that now has risen to 7-12 for the season and on a 3-game winning streak.
You can find that show right now, Facebook.com/PressBoxSports.
Thank you for mentioning
YouTube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. Orioles and Rays set to open up a series tonight here in Baltimore.
Great if we could talk to somebody from the Rays.
I would love to do it. In fact, we're going to do that a couple times. How frequently do you have this happen where we're going to have two different Towson Tigers on this morning to talk about the Tampa Bay Rays? Joining us now, of course, a longtime play-by-play voice of the Tampa Bay Rays. And
a third.
Well, yeah, we have a lot of Towson Tigers here. I don't think Griffin's going to talk about the Rays, though, specifically.
No.
This man is a Towson Tiger. He is Andy Freed, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Andy, it's Glenn, Stan the Fan Charles here in Baltimore. It's always great to catch up. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Well, thank you very much, and I'm happy to talk to you. And in particular, Stan, it still gives me a thrill to talk to him because that was always my favorite talk show to listen to about the Orioles growing up. So I especially like being on the other end of a Stan the Fan interview because it's just kind of full circle for me. So good to hear you both.
I'm nowhere near as good an interviewer as I was 30 years ago, Andy.
Andy, before we get into the team, we were talking about it as you came in. Having another Towson Tiger show up has got to been like. Have you been telling stories with Richie Palacios and sharing? Like, how cool has that been for you to have another Towson Tiger around?
Very cool. To be perfectly honest, it's been great, and in particular because Richie Palacios is such a good guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really willing to talk about anything. We signed. I followed his career when he was with the Cardinals. I remember he had that big series here in Baltimore last year, and then when the Rays got him, it really was no guarantee that he was going to make the club. But he started to kind of outshine everybody during spring training, in particular when we were down in the Dominican. He had a great series, and I just thought he brought an energy to the group that we sorely needed. And that was when I really started getting a chance to meet him and talk to him. We exchanged numbers and just turns out at very, decades apart, we had lived in the same dorm.
Cool.
So just a really great guy to talk to. And I tell you what, I think he has entrenched himself on this team. I think there was several weeks at the beginning of the year where, he could have gone either way, maybe sent back to Durham if someone came off the injured list, but not anymore. I've talked to Kevin Cash about him quite a bit, and he's locked on this team because I think he brings some energy that this team needs, not to mention the fact he's just played really good baseball.
Andy, let's talk about the Rays broadly because you entered the series a game under 500, and obviously given what the Rays have been in recent seasons, that would be, kind of disappointing. Yet, given the totality of everything they've dealt with pitching injury-wise dating back to last season, is it almost in a weird way like a positive thing that they're this close to 500 despite how much they don't have in the pitching department?
Yes. It's more than that, though, guys. I mean, this team is kind of fortunate to be where they are. I don't think this team has played this well, to be honest. I think they're very fortunate to be just a couple of games under 500. A lot of the hallmarks that the Rays have established over the last, decade to 15 years just haven't been there. They have not been a good defensive team. They've been inconsistent on the pitching front. The offense has been nowhere to be found in many days. We're having remarkably futile years from Yandy Diaz and Randy Rosarena, and Brandon Lau's been injured once again, and he's just starting to hit it a little bit. So I view this team, if any of them, more like the 2011 Rays that got off to an atrocious start that found itself during the year, and that's what I think all of us in and around the Rays are hoping can happen, that they can kind of find themselves as the year goes along. This team has not looked anything like the Rays teams that we've gotten used to over the last decade plus.
Andy, you mentioned Randy Rosarina, a really premier star performer for his few years in the big leagues, and this year seems like it's all cratered. Is there anything the club can sort of hang its hat on that he can bounce back based on the fact that he's been so poor for this reason? And I don't know what that reason is.
I don't think anyone knows what that reason is because, Stan, the thing that has happened to Randy that no one seems to make sense of is that he's not chasing. He's getting beat in the strike zone. What his big calling card as a player for the Rays is that he could catch up to high velocity. He could hit the guys that are throwing upper 90s, and he could hit them in spots where guys can't normally hit it at the top of the zone.
Mm-hmm.
He could hit 98 at the top of the zone. He's getting beat by 93 in the middle of the zone now, and no one seems to figure out exactly why that is. There's a theory because he bulked up a lot during this offseason, because he got worn out last year as the season went along. He had a great first half. He was in home run derby, and after that, it really fell off. So he took it upon himself to get in really good physical condition, but added a lot of muscle mass this year. And the theory is that maybe he's lost a little bit of quickness. So no one really knows exactly why. I will say this. He's had some moments for the Rays. He had a big home run against Edwin Diaz with the Rays down to the last strike. They swept the Mets. He's hit a couple of home runs. His walks are up, which is good. So his strike zone is in order, but he's just getting beat by fastballs, and that has everybody scratching their heads.
So they're not thinking it's an eyesight thing either. It sounds like if his ball strike judgment is on the mark, then it's not having to do with eyesight.
No, it's not. You know, there's a collection of players around the league that have established themselves as good hitters that are just off to, you can't even see lousy starts anymore. That are just having bad starts. Look no further than Yandy Diaz. I mean, Yandy hit 330 last year, and what happened? No one seems to know. You know, they're putting the work in. There's no question about that. They care deeply. They're very committed players, and they've stayed professional through it. It's not like they're sulking or anything like that. But both of them have gotten off to these years that no one could have predicted. And I mean, I've been saying it forever, and not like it's anything novel, but this team isn't going anywhere until Diaz and Rosarena start hitting a little better.
Andy Freed with us here on GCR. So Andy, how are they this close to being a 500 team, right? Like, how have they won as many games as they have?
I mean, the bullpen started out in terrible shape. That's gotten turned around a little bit, and that's helped also. You know, they don't really have that one true stopper in the rotation. I don't think they really have a number one in the rotation. But I do think that they've gotten some fortification from the younger guys. In fact, Taj Bradley and Ryan Pepio, I think, have been two of the bright spots in this rotation because they're hard throwers. A lot of the other guys that the Rays have are breaking ball guys or the ball, you know, moves late, but they're really 92, 93, 94, you know, Savali and Littell. Eflin has been inconsistent. I don't know. I really don't think we should be as good as we are. But, you know, I might just be, I don't know, dwelling on the negative because the bar has been so high for this team.
How many games have you had against the White Sox? Maybe that's
that does help.
Maybe that's in it.
No. Stan, we got swept by the White Sox when they were 3-20. We went to Chicago and the White Sox were 3-23, and they swept the Rays.
Unbelievable.
So it hasn't even been that. So I think they've had enough moments where the pitching has been good enough, and they've gotten a timely hit here or there. And amazingly, they're still kind of in it. But, you know, this division has not been what we thought, where it was 5 teams that are close.
Right.
As you know, it's 2 teams at the top, and the other 3 that are scrounging to get to third place, hoping that Kansas City or Minnesota could fall back and maybe sneak in to a final playoff spot.
Tell me about 2 players that one has just started to play for you guys, Jonathan Aranda, and the other is Shane Baz. It sounds like he keeps having mini setbacks. I'm not sure quite what's going on with Shane Baz.
Well, Baz was part of the deal that they got for Chris Archer when they got Glasnow and they got Meadows and they got Baz. He had been the Pirates' #1 pick from the year before. And we thought, I think some of his reputation preceded him, that he was going to be an ace. I don't know if the Rays ever saw him as an ace. I think they saw him as a formidable middle-of-the-rotation guy. Mm-hmm. But they brought him up during the 21 season because they had injuries to Glasnow and some other guys. and he started to pitch really well in the big league level. Now, it's just been Tommy John, and it's been injury after injury, and if the Rays are anything, they are extremely patient, and they let guys heal at their own pace. And if there's any sort of minor thing that goes on, then they push the timetable back. That's kind of where they are with Boz. He's been activated but sent to AAA Durham, and I think they're expecting him to be here at some point. But something to keep in mind with him is that there's going to be a severe innings limit on him, because the guy hasn't really pitched since early in the 22 season. And who was the other one?
Aranda.
Oh, Aranda is a guy that they're bullish on. They think that he's a big league hitter. The problem is there's no great position for him. You know, he's not a great second baseman or a great first baseman, but they're banking on him having the kind of year, maybe not results-wise, but making the same kind of step that Josh Lowe had made from 2022 to 2023. He was overmatched in 22, came back in 23. Aranda was having a great spring training, and he had absolutely made the club. And then he was fielding a ground ball right towards the end of spring training, and put his hand in his mitt, and the ball hit it and busted his finger. So he's just kind of on the way back. But they like what he's done, and they think that he's a pure hitter, but maybe a little bit more of a DH type that they fill in at second base and first base.
Andy, whenever we have these conversations during the season, we inevitably get to the question about, like, the trade deadline and the thought process. And it's always difficult to talk about this with the Rays, because the Rays could be in the middle of pushing for something and might still end up being a seller, right? Like, it's just sort of the way that they operate down there. How does the organization view this season and maybe some decisions that they might make? Because this is, I can't even look at expiring contracts, right? Like, they might look at a Pete Fairbanks and say, man, let's try to trade him and see what we can't get for him. Like, where is the thought process?
I don't really know. I mean, I'm being as honest as I can be.
I
think they're trying to figure out what is going on right now. What are we? Are we a team that's going to find itself, or are we a team that is just a little bit short in a bunch of different areas? I think the jury is out, and I think they're evaluating this team very seriously as it's going on. The hard thing is, if the Rays tend to trade guys a year too early versus a year too late, so that's kind of how they have replenished the group. If you've got Diaz and a Rosarena, and even Fairbanks, as you mentioned, has been up and down, if those are guys, and I'm saying if, I'm not saying definitely, but if, for example, those are guys that they were thinking of trading, well, then their value is down right now. I mean, they tend to trade guys when their value is up. So I don't think they've given up on this season. I think they're trying to find solutions to this season, knowing that there's 6 playoff spots in the American League, and they're letting it play out. I think of 2011, for some reason, this team just keeps reminding me of that group that had this incredible ending. But I remember we were here in Baltimore in August of that year, and internally they were having conversations about, okay, let's start thinking about next year, and let's see who could we trade now, and then and then the team caught fire. So, and that was when there was only 1 wild card spot. Now there's 3 wild card spots. So I think they're trying to figure out what they have and what they can do to turn this thing around. It's certainly not too late. We're a third of the season in. I don't think it's hardly possible for them to win the division, but I don't know. I've been surprised before with this group. You never know.
Dave, my last question for you. I know that a relationship between co-broadcasters in the radio booth is kind of almost like a marriage. And you worked with Dave Wills for quite a number of years together in that Tampa Bay Rays booth. He passed away March 5th, 2023. How often does Dave come to mind, and do you think about him?
A lot. And it's not almost like a marriage. It is a marriage, Dan. Yeah. I mean, and it's an arranged marriage. We didn't know each other until we met right before opening day of 2005. But with chemistry, you don't know why it happens or how it happens. We just got along really well. And for 18 years, I got a chance to work with one of my best friends in the world. So he left us. It stinks. I think of him all the time. I have dreams about him a lot. But I'm tight with his wife and with his daughter, and I don't know. It takes a lot of soul searching when you lose a friend at a young age unexpectedly. We had done a game on a Saturday, and we were getting ready to get together on Sunday, and then he didn't wake up. So I've gotten some great advice from other announcers. John Miller's been wonderful and reached out and talked a lot to me about how Chuck Thompson dealt with the death of Bill O'Donnell back in the early 80s. And it's a similar, I never expected to have to go through anything like this. But at the same time, though, Dave was really a happy sort of guy. So I can't when the season goes along, I can't dwell on the fact that he's not here. I've been working very hard to develop chemistry with my new partner, Neil Solondz.
Yep.
And Neil deserves to be here. And, baseball is just about having a good time. I mean, last year I was in deep mourning, Stan, to be honest.
Yep.
And I just don't want to feel that way anymore. So I'm working on it and trying to get better at it. But Dave was a guy that wanted us to have fun, and that's always been the motto of our broadcast booth. Win or lose, we're going to lead the league in fun, and that's what Neil and I are trying to do.
That's a great way to think about it.
And remembering that we're all lucky to get to do what we do. That's just the reality of
You're
the
right.
circumstances. At Andy
That's
B.
it.
Fried on Twitter is how you follow him. Andy, always appreciate taking the time, especially being back in town. Thanks for hopping on with us this morning. Let's chat again real soon, all right?
You bet. Anytime, and I appreciate you having me. We'll see you soon.
All right, I'll talk to you at the ballpark, Andy. Bye.
Of course, Andy Fried, Rays play-by-play voice, and Towson Tiger. Appreciate him spending some time with us this morning. And Stan the fan. Stan the fan. Something like that.
There
All
are
right.
a few still alive.
Yeah, I didn't much care for you, to be honest with you.
I know
It didn't really do anything for me. Never. Come back in. We're gonna we'll get into the rest of the week in baseball. Griffin will tell us what it is that we might have missed going on elsewhere in the world of baseball this week. That's on the way. Stan's here. It is a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. Hey, O's fans, on Saturday, June 1st, cheer on the Orioles as they take on the Tampa Bay Rays at Oriole Park at Camden Yards at 4:05. The first 25,000 fans 15 and over will receive an Anthony Santander walk-off bobblehead presented by Royal Farms. Come out early. Gates will open 2 hours prior to the first pitch for Early Bird Saturdays with happy hour, live music, and more. Don't miss all the action and excitement of an evening out at the yard. Buy your tickets today at Orioles.com/tickets.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hagerstown, Maryland, a snapshot of American history that dates back centuries. Today, the roots of the city expand with another historical moment, the grand opening of Meredith Park, Hagerstown's new event stadium and home to the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Experience the energy, culture, and adventure. Plan your getaway today at America's newest and most innovative ballpark. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland. Visit Hagerstown.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
And on a Friday, it's also Stan the Fan Charles in studio with us. Don't forget, if you missed anything during championship season in high school sports, you can find out all of the winners, all the results by going to countysports.zone. That's countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. You've been watching, how glued into the NBA playoffs have you been, Stan?
I've been fairly into them. Yeah,
So,
I was very surprised at how bad Minnesota was last night.
Oh, that was an abomination.
I got to tell you something. I've always, from a distance, admired Rudy Gobert.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, he's a hardworking player and all that. But, boy, other than coming down with an offensive rebound, why they would let him shoot the ball. The way he shoots the ball is like, in the old days you would say it's like a girl.
Yeah.
But that you can't really say that anymore.
They Rudy Gobert their way into a 20-point deficit last night.
It was unbelievable. They came down four straight times.
Everything went to Rudy Gobert, and all of a sudden you looked up, and there was no basketball. The
game was over. Yeah.
There was no basketball game to be had. Yeah. How are you? I'm in a weird place, right, where I thought the winner of the West would definitively be the favorite over the Celtics, because it just always felt like the Celtics were a little fraud. They were the default. There's nobody else in the East, so of course the Celtics ran out to all these wins and made. I'm not sure if I just feel like their path has been so easy to this point.
Yeah.
That they're so healthy. They get Kristaps Porzingis back.
Yeah.
I am no longer convinced that it's just the winner of the West is going to win the finals.
I think it's a very, very tight matchup between these two teams. I want to say that, the Dallas duo of
Doncic
and
Kyrie
Irving, thank you, is so freaking good.
Yep.
And they are
particularly good late in games.
Yeah, they're great closing ball players.
When the game is on the line, they know exactly what to do. Yeah. They do not waste possessions.
But having said that, the Celtics' record over the last 3 seasons has been, in the regular season, has shown me that they've got an awful lot of talent. I think Porzingis coming back is huge for them. I think it's got a chance to be a really great 6 or 7 game series.
That's obvious. I have zero rooting interest at this point, right? I don't care about either. I guess there's always a bit of me that's like F Boston, they're Red Sox fans up there, they're Patriots fans up there. I don't want to see them happy.
Right.
I don't really care about the Celtics in any way. Why would I?
Right.
But sure, I don't want to see their fans happy. But Dallas fans are Cowboys fans too, so kind of F them as well. I don't know. I have no rooting interest whatsoever. So yes, to the point of, does it look like on paper this should be a really good series? Absolutely, to me it looks like on paper. But I kind of felt that way about Dallas and Minnesota too. And
Minnesota was not ready. They
weren't
ready
for 4 games.
time.
For 4 games of that series, they were really the games were really competitive. With the difference being Dallas at the end was far more prepared to handle the end game.
Did you see that stat during the Indiana-Boston series? The win probability Indiana had in 2 of the first 4.
Oh, yeah. It was
94.
Yeah.
One was 49 seconds with a 3-point or 4-point lead in the ball.
Game 1, it's one of the all-time meltdowns in the history of meltdowns.
Yeah.
That game was over. They had the ball up 3 with 10 seconds left.
Yep.
100 times out of 100. If you're an NBA team, you have to win that game.
Yep.
That's insane that they lost that game.
But they lost 3 of their 4 games.
Yep.
They had a huge win probability late in the ball game.
Yep. No doubt. All right, let's do this. Let's go and see what's happening in baseball right now.
This week in the rest of baseball.
This week in the rest of baseball is brought to you by the print issue of Press Box, which is still available for another couple of weeks, but winding down on this one.
Not a lot of them left.
Grayson Rodriguez on the cover. Great cover story from Luke Jackson. Do you want to make the announcement on the next one, or do you want to wait till next week and we'll do that?
We can wait till next week.
Till next week. Next Friday, we'll tell you who's on the cover of the next print issue of Press Box, which will be on
He
Stan's.
has a great smile. I'll say that.
I have not seen what was chosen for the cover, so I don't know what the cover looks like. But we'll wait. We'll talk to you about it next Friday. Next Friday, we'll tell you more about that. Go get this one in the meantime. You can always read all of it. PressBoxOnline.com. All right, Griffin, what else happened in baseball this week?
I guess just going chronologically, the first thing that happened over the weekend, obviously Ronald Acuna went down with an ACL tear, so the reigning National League MVP will miss the remainder of the season, so very disappointing for the Braves and baseball fans, obviously.
I was on the radio on Sunday as I just looked up out of the corner of my eye, and I was like, oh, no. It's just that, to your point, right? Like, it's not – I feel nothing towards the Atlanta Braves. It's just – it's no fun for baseball. Like, Ronald Acuna has been a fun part of watching baseball for the last couple of years. You're going to see special things, 70 stolen bases, right? Like, you're just going to see him do crazy things. So, yeah, it sucks for baseball. And you could tell immediately you could tell it was bad when you looked up at it. So it's a huge bummer. No doubt.
Those 70 stolen base days may be long behind.
Oh, 100%, right? Yeah. And it's even awkward, too, because then, like, it's inflated by the rules, and, like, you have to have the conversation about how you measure his 70 stolen bases versus, still, it was exciting. Ronald Acuna was an exciting baseball. I say was.
He still will be.
He will be an exciting baseball player. To your point, will he be the same?
And I'm only talking about preventatively.
Right.
In other words, I still think he could steal 70 bases.
But they just sort of
say. But I think they're going to say, hey, you're too valuable.
We need your bat. We need
you to steal 30.
Right. Let's not push it.
And, yeah, I mean, we'll see if maybe there's more problems for the Braves just because they have not been – they just haven't been themselves. We talked about maybe that was right before we came back. But their lineup's been down.
Yep.
And, their pitching's kind of been down. But Max Fried actually has looked pretty good of recent. Moving on.
Well, and the other thing, too, is the Phillies have showed no signs of giving an inch. So it's going to be –
other than losing 2 out of 3 to the Giants in San Francisco.
Fair. But that's the smallest.
That's an inch.
They've given a centimeter, right. I feel like, and that's about it.
I don't know if you saw this earlier this week. I think it was Tuesday or maybe it was Monday. But Bruce Bochy was speaking to the media, and I don't know how it came up, but he mentioned that he once won an Arby's eating contest when he was.
I totally missed this.
You missed this when he was in the Astros farm system back in the Florida State.
Did we get
League.
details about?
I bet his parents were so proud of him for that.
That was the accomplishment. Did we get details about what he had to eat in order to win this?
I know he dove into it more. I was trying to find exactly, or just if there was an article about breaking down exactly what he ate, but I couldn't find. I know that his baseball reference page was updated
in order to reference Arby's
World
eating
Series champion, Arby's eating champion as well.
Actually, quite great.
Yes,
I love that. I don't love Arby's. I'm in the Jon Stewart camp when it comes to Arby's, and it was always one of my favorite recurring bits when somehow Jon Stewart would find a way to say, like, Arby's, challenge your stomach to a knife fight. It was a great bit. I'd like to know if, like, it was the Meat Mountain. I'd like to know exactly what it was. It just a classic roast beef sandwich? Like, what was the play for the Arby's eating contest? I'd like to get to the bottom of that. It's a Big Montanas. Was it a bunch of Big Montanas the entire time? It's been so long. There was an Arby's near a buddy's house, and when we would drink, every now and then we'd go over there, and even for drunk food, we would still be like, what are we doing? What are we Why?
I used to like Arby's when it first, and then I don't know what it was, but I think back to it. It must have had so much salt in it. It's just unbelievable. Oh. Never tasted roast beef like that before. Yeah.
Awful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Back to you.
I unfortunately couldn't find.
You couldn't get any details
exactly
on
what he ate. But the one stat I did find out, but there was only one walk-off home run hit against Nolan Ryan in his career. Bruce Bochy.
Wow, that is it. Look at that. What a fascinating fella.
Yeah.
Also, as I've told the story a few times, refused to allow me to be in his office for a post-game gaggle unless I had a beer with him.
Sat down and had a beer with him.
I could not. It's the type of thing that, like, now, if there was video of it, he would probably get a lot of negative attention on social media. But I'm telling you, at Chase Field in Arizona, I went in to do a post-game gaggle with Bruce Bochy, and he didn't recognize me, and he said, "You can't be in here unless you have a beer with me." And I said, well, all right.
Is it better or worse than saying, are you subscribe to my podcast?
The Patrick Beverly.
Now, here's the question. What if he had said, you can't sit down with me unless you eat an Arby's
Now, that would have been more of a challenge.
Beat me in an
although
turned around
at
left.
that point in my life, I was 24 23, 24, something like
probably
that.
would've eaten
I
the
probably would
Arby's.
have just said, all right, go ahead and get
I
it.
challenge you to an Arby's.
Probably go ahead and do it at that point.
So Jeremiah Estrada pitched last pitched on Tuesday night. It was another 3-up, 3-down inning for him, which is significant because all 3 of those outs were strikeouts, which brought
does he
his
pitch
total
for?
the San Diego Padres.
Okay.
And all 3 those 3 brought his active streak of 13 consecutive strikeouts. So
Wait, he struck out 13 consecutive batters that he's
Wow.
faced?
Correct. It's been across like 3 appearances.
It's really
but
kind of
yes.
wild.
Yes, it is the.
How many games did they play against the White Sox?
Well, they're playing the
Sarah
Yankees,
Langs,
right?
The Padres.
Yeah, didn't they? Didn't they just recently? Yeah.
Hold on, I
So
had
was
it.
one of his
I'm looking at it.
appearances against the
I
Yankees?
think it was.
Must have been.
I would think.
Yeah,
I
they
mean,
did play the Yankees.
I don't know why they wouldn't have. If he's striking batters out like that, I don't know why you wouldn't have used him in that series. That would have seemed to be a mistake.
Correct. Yeah, he went an inning and 2/3 against the Yankees.
5 strikeouts.
Yep. Yes.
That's wild, man. That's wild.
Mhm.
I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, and so according to Sarah Langs, that is the longest streak in the expansion era since 1960, since at least the expansion era, 1961, and is still going on at the moment. The next time he
Wow.
goes out, it will be.
What's the longest of all time?
That is it. Before that, I believe it was 11. So he tied it and then eventually passed it.
So he's
by,
at 13?
Yes. Jose Alvarado
So
had 11, I believe.
I'm looking
the
at
most
his game
recent.
log right now. So he pitched 2 innings against the Reds, which means his first batter was, or his first out.
Yeah, he faced 7 batters.
Or I
Yeah.
guess he gave up a hit
Gave
and
up a
a
hit.
different type of out, and then 5 straight
Five
strikeouts
strikeouts.
in that appearance, and then
5 straight against the Yankees.
and then 3 against
Miami.
the
Wow.
Marlins.
Maybe the Orioles can get him for the
Yeah, right.
back
Maybe.
end.
I don't think the Padres are selling, unfortunately.
One of the bigger news stories in, I guess, across all of sports, Negro Leagues have been integrated into Major League Baseball and historical stats as well. And I can see Glenn has some thoughts on this.
It's funny because I didn't, right? Like when they announced they were going to do this a few months back, I thought, well, that's a good thing, right? Like that makes sense. And it wasn't until this week when I heard from a lot of black voices how opposed they were to this, which was, I didn't see coming, right? Like because again,
This came out of nowhere.
dumb white guy. I'm just like, this seems like a good thing. Recognize that the argument was, no, you don't get to claim us now. Like you don't get to. You did what you did, segregating the sport. You don't get to now try to pretend like that didn't happen by just lumping everybody in and pretending like Josh Gibson was a Major League Baseball player. He wasn't, and I don't think that was the point of baseball doing this. Like I don't.
No,
think
I don't think that's
the
either.
case. But I understand that feeling. That I think both can be relevant. I think for baseball, it's been a problematic conversation that we've had when we've talked about certain numbers to say, well, but were these guys even going up against the best baseball players? Or were their numbers kind of artificial because they didn't have to face the best competition at the time because that best competition, some of the best competition was playing in the Negro Leagues. So for baseball to say, hey, we've got to try to figure out a way to make our numbers more realistic, I understand the thought process. I also understand the feeling. It's a very emotional feeling that there are black voices that feel like you're whitewashing the history of the sport. And I don't know. I don't know that there's a correct answer here. It's definitely above my pay grade.
And it's not changing Hank Aaron's record of home runs versus Bonds?
No. Hang on a second. Hank Aaron got...
Well, when you say no, he had 755, and Bonds had, 772?
But I think he only got 10, if I saw correctly.
As a Negro League player.
Yeah.
That's too bad. I would have liked to have seen...
Oh, that could have been...
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Let me just... I saw this number.
It's 755 now. Is that correct?
No, that's what Aaron hit. Bond's record is greater than that.
So here's
gotcha.
Hank Aaron's. This is an interesting. They don't recognize Negro League numbers after baseball had become integrated. Because they don't. What they're saying is at that point the Negro Leagues were no longer major league quality because the players were playing in the major leagues.
Sense, yeah.
So those numbers.
So Barry Bonds had 762 home runs.
Right. So if it had been 10,
Aaron,
if it had been 10, it would have been enough to surpass.
And they probably that sounds like that may have been part of the reason.
Maybe.
There is they didn't want to rock that boat too much.
It's an interesting.
Yeah.
It's an interesting. Look, again, inherently, it felt like a good thing to me when they announced. It felt like the right thing to do. I certainly understand the opposing viewpoints. You can't change the history, right? Like you can't. I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
If it shines more of a light on Negro League players, that seems like a good thing. This is difficult, man. This is one of those things where like it's not for sports radio. There is not one hot take to have about this topic.
Yeah.
It is a.
It's not going to put $1 more into their pockets either.
No,
the black players.
They're long gone. Josh
gone.
Gibson cannot benefit from the fact that now he's going to be recognized as the all-time slugging percentage king. Like he can't benefit from that. But does it help tell the story more? Does it help us? With maybe. And for baseball, I think the simple question is: are you telling the history of the sport the correct way? And I think that they believe that integrating Negro League statistics helps tell the history of the sport. I heard Clinton Yates talking about this topic the other night, and it is fascinating like how much work they had to do in order to be comfortable with the statistics, because the statistics were not kept the way that Major League Baseball statistics were kept. And they had to do a deep investigation into all of the data they could possibly find from these games and these stories and what was written about these games. And it
must have been amazing.
Yeah, it was an exhaustive process to get to the place where they were comfortable with going ahead and adding this.
It'd be great talking to one
in.
of those people
who did the work. That'd be a fascinating.
I know Russell Dorsey was pretty involved. I think.
Was he actually doing the?
I'm not sure if he was doing like the data collection stuff.
That's the part that I think is really fit. Like I did not know about how difficult the data collection process was until I heard Clinton Yates talking about it the other day. Like that was really fascinating to me. Anything else?
A few more things. This one, I thought this was interesting because I saw from Alex Fast on Twitter. We were talking about how it's been kind of a down year offensively, but the shortstop class has been very, very good this season. There are 6 shortstops that are top 13 in WAR so far this season, and those 6 all have a WAR of 2.4 or better. And if you compare it to last year, so last year at this point in the season, shortstops had a combined WAR of 26.7 on Fangraphs. This year they're at 38.7. So they're up 12 points.
I guess Bobby Witt is...
Bobby Witt. You want to try to name the 6 that are in the... Yeah, Witt, Gunnar. Shortstop that has a higher WAR than Gunnar.
There's a shortstop that has higher WAR than Gunnar.
I guess Bichette's not one of them this year.
Bichette, yeah.
The Cardinal shortstop isn't one of them. Correa, not one of them.
No.
I'm good at not.
Yeah, you got everybody that it isn't. You're doing really good in that.
How about
department.
Volpe? Volpe is top 4.
Yeah.
There's a guy because he hasn't played shortstop like the last couple seasons. He's now playing shortstop again.
He hasn't played shortstop the last couple of seasons. Now playing shortstop.
He's a guy that's played like all over the middle of the field.
Mookie Betts.
Mookie Betts.
Oh right. Right.
Mookie Betts is top 2 in or top 2 in shortstop.
Is he playing short or second though?
He's playing enough short that he qualifies for shortstop.
Okay.
Yes. Then Ellie De La Cruz and Willie Adames as well, having great seasons and helping.
And the Pirates shortstop O'Neal Cruz is not one of them. Not one of them.
No, he's not in the top. He's not in the top 6. I know he's having. I think he struggled a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then also another big week or a big story in baseball this week was Jorge Lopez getting DFA'd, and just
we talked about it yesterday.
Just really sad. And I guess since Dan's here, do you think would there be any reason for the Orioles to try it again, Stan?
I would think, barring a sudden look, would I take him over Vieira in a split second? But
I think we talked about yesterday. Like, if you want to give him a minor league deal, and say, "Man, we're not giving you a roster spot right now."
Right.
But if you want to, if for whatever reason you have felt more comfortable here, and he's kind of alluded to that a little bit, that all of the issues that he's dealt with, and he's been very open about it, and everything going on with his son, that being here and being a part of this organization, you believe brings out the best in you. We can't guarantee. I could not guarantee him a spot on the roster today. Like, that doesn't make sense. But if he wanted to come in and and pitch on a minor league deal. And
how was he pitching before this incident?
He was, well, his last 2 or 3 appearances I think hadn't gone well, but he had overall been solid. His ERA was somewhere between 3 and 4, I think.
Right.
So he had been effective. He had gotten a couple saves, a few holds for
I have a
obviously
real
the Mets
hard
haven't been
time
winning a
believing
ton,
he
so
couldn't help the team more than Vieira.
I agree with that. I do agree with that.
Yeah. The question, I'd have to sort of really have my doctors talk to him and understand what triggered this sudden breaking point,
I'm looking at it. To your point, he had given up, over his last 3 appearances, he had given up 5 earned runs.
Over how many?
Before that,
3,
2 1/3.
2 1/3.
Before that, he had given up just 3 runs in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 appearances.
Right.
The rest of the month. Okay. So he has it for.
I mean, this is a team that gave Johan Ramirez a shot.
Right.
This Vieira a shot.
It's
I get what you're saying. I guess my I would just say no to Vieira. I had anything to me with Vieira. I just see no reason for Vieira to be on the team. So let me go different. If it was Vieira versus, Jorge Lopez versus Vespi.
Right.
Which one would you rather have on the team at the moment?
I'd probably rather have Jorge Lopez.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Again, having talked to him,
right,
and understand what. I don't want to bring somebody who's on the verge of a nervous breakdown onto the ball club. I don't know. That's so out of character. He's a great guy. Really soft. He's a soft, gentle giant, sort of. And what the hell caused that snap? I don't know.
It's also weird.
What literally happened? It was a
check swing.
Yeah,
right. That's right. They ruled
it not a swing, but it was right after he gave up a home run to Ohtani, and it's
he must be under immense pressure.
Well, I think a lot of people are not familiar with what's going on with his son, and that clearly has affected him. But he's been dealing with that, and he's talked about that. He's had conversations about it. It's also
that's been going on a long time, and he's never exhibited that type of behavior.
It's also
before.
This is the other weird part.
In New York,
maybe
it just might
maybe. The other weird part, and I brought this up yesterday. I'm not trying to diminish it, but Patrick Beverly threw a basketball directly at a human being. Mm-hmm. That's grotesque. I don't know how grotesque. It's weird that he threw his glove up in the air into the stands, but he's not trying to hurt somebody in that process. He's not.
Right.
I don't. It's just weird.
It's like sort of an insult. Well, the other thing was there's the dispute now. He's disputing what he said.
Well, he
said the Mets are the worst organization in baseball, and I'm the worst teammate on the worst team, or something like that.
The initial quote was quoted as they're the worst team, the worst effing team.
Right.
SNY,
but then when we all listened to it, it absolutely sounded like he said teammate and not team. Then a follow-up was asked by another reporter,
right.
Hey, did you say they're the worst effing team? And that's when he was like,
right. So he never, those words never came out of his.
The language barrier seemed to be an issue there where he wasn't clarifying himself well. It didn't seem like he was really taking shots. It didn't seem like he was purposefully taking shots at the Mets.
I have to say, I thought the Mets really botched this. They could have done it the next day after really sitting and talking to him,
or offered to say, "Hey, can we take a mental timeout here?
Yeah.
Can we, do you want to talk to somebody? Can we be involved in helping whatever's going on?"
But it's always much easier to dismiss somebody.
Yep, way easier to do that.
And they literally just now, they optioned Christian Scott and Brett Beatty back to AAA.
The Mets.
The Mets did, yeah. And Scott had been pitching well. Beatty has
making room for Johan Ramirez again.
Maybe. So no one knows what's going on.
It's a cool time to be around the New York Mets. Super.
And then the last thing, because this one's kind of cool, another Lamont Wade Jr. thing. He will have a bobblehead on
I did.
Sunday.
Did you see it?
Yes, I have the video. I was going to show it.
It's really cool. And then the Orioles, everybody's saying the Orioles have to figure out a way to incorporate this, obviously, moving forward.
But he hit the 100th home run to go into McCovey Cove, and so it's a splash-themed bobblehead with a little, sprinkler kind of on the end. So I'll play the video.
The Orioles are right in that.
This absolutely seems like they just did the Mr. Splash bobblehead, and it doesn't splash anyone in any way, so they kind of missed that one. But maybe they do a Ruben splash bobblehead or something like that, or a Joan Jett splash after she comes and does the Joan Jett. I don't know what they do, but I think that it would be a cool idea, and I did think this was a cool concept for a bobblehead.
Unfortunately, he won't be able to play. He did strain his hamstring on
Oh, that's a bummer.
It is. It really
is. Speaking of good guys, Lamont Wade, a very, very good guy.
He's a Maryland guy,
He's
right?
not. Oh, he's a Baltimore kid, and then
Baltimore kid played
at Maryland. Absolutely, great guy. All right, that was this week in the rest of baseball. Ben Verlander is going to join us in a few minutes, and as I've said, we've got a busy end of the show, so we'll probably sprinkle in Tidbit and Tubular before that, and then we'll talk to Ben Verlander. So we continue along here on a Friday edition of GCR.
I don't know if Griffin told you.
I got an entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor, dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The votes were all counted, and the results are official. Royal Farms was named #1 for food in the USA Today 10 Best poll, receiving more votes than any other convenience store chain in America. The next time you want to get some good food fast, doesn't it make sense to go to Royal Farms? Voted best in the USA and home of world-famous chicken. Real fresh, real fast, Royal Farms.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? AJ Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis. AJMichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flight's Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that's going on. I don't know if you can show it somehow, Griffin. I don't know if you can turn that camera for people to see it. At the end of the show yesterday, we had this very weird discovery that there's a giant crack. I mean, it's massive in the window that Griffin.
Really showing up.
Oh. We can't do something with that in order to get it there.
It's typically like sort of what happens to a windshield in a car.
Yeah,
but there doesn't appear to be one.
Don't move Stan's camera in the process. You gotta swing it out.
There does not appear to be a starting point. Although I'm looking at the first lower peak, it looks like it might have started there.
When I was a kid,
yeah,
there was a day where I was sitting in the car. I remember we were, I don't know, 9. I was 9, maybe my sister was 7. We're sitting in the car, and it was a cold day. I remember that much. And we're getting ready. My mother's taking us to school, and all of a sudden, the window right next to me just like combusts. Like combusts into 1,000 pieces. I've never seen.
Your mother was trying to kill you.
Right, exactly right. I remember, like, my sister screaming. I didn't, because I didn't know what was going on. I had no idea
how
to.
Old were you?
I was like 9.
Wow.
Like, I'm like, what the hell is happening right now? Like, it totally fine window, and in a second, just shatters. And it was something to do with the air pressure and something to do with
really?
I don't remember this. It
Sounds
was
like
way
somebody
too
took
young.
a shot at you.
It would feel that way, right? Like, it was. Now, we were still sitting in the driveway. We weren't like driving along, anything like that. We were just sitting in the.
That's interesting.
And so, of all the places, it was fine. Like, we just kind of pushed it out and put a cardboard over the window until she could go get the window replaced that day. But it was bizarre, like utterly bizarre. And that's the way that I feel about this giant crack.
Did you have like glass all over you?
No, it stayed in.
Oh, it just
it shattered.
Gotcha.
But it was all
stayed
right there in place.
Right.
It didn't go. It just, you heard it.
Did you roll down the window?
No, yeah, right. To get all the glass everywhere. No, we just literally we just pushed it out into the driveway, and then it was in 1,000 pieces. And then I think
I'm just curious. Did your mother then say, "Glenn, go in the back seat," or did she let you sit there?
I was in the back seat.
Oh, you were in the back seat.
I was right next to the window, so I was like behind the driver's seat.
Oh my goodness.
And the window was right there. Shatters. My sister's right here.
Right.
She starts screaming.
Right.
I'm just like, what in the world? Like, I think I remember like laughing about it.
Right.
Like, what is this? Never seen anything like this, and still to this day never have. And yeah, we just decided that the answer was push it out.
Unbelievable.
Onto the driveway, and I'm pretty sure my father made me dust bust it later. Like, he sent me back out and said, "It's all this glass here." And I'm like, what the hell, man? I didn't do this. This isn't on me. What are you doing?
You got blamed, though.
I always did. Always did.
And they weren't wrong most of the time.
But yeah, we have this massive, just
gash.
It's all like, and it's not. It doesn't appear to be through.
No.
It doesn't appear as though it's fully.
I will say it looks a little. I don't know. It looks a little sharper than it did yesterday.
Oh, you think it's growing?
I do.
Okay.
I think it might have been like up.
Griffin's terrified. Griffin's. This is gonna be like he's not gonna come into work next week. He's gonna have a list of demands, and that's gonna be the circumstances.
See Zach coming in next week.
Well, Zach might have done it. Maybe he was trying to take Griffin out in order to get the job. I don't know. It's a very confusing thing.
You know, when somebody else comes in, though, I would twist the thing and shut the you know.
Yeah.
So Zach doesn't see it.
100%. Oh yeah, right. They can't even notice. Can't get worried about it. Very weird. All right, let's do this because Ben Verlander is going to join us in a few minutes. Let's go ahead and do Tidbit. And maybe we'll do Tubular as well. Tidbit is brought to you today by Sports and Social, the best place to watch all of the playoff action as well as all of the big fights. Like tomorrow night, UFC 302. Reserve your spot. You can reserve a table by going to the Sports and Social website at the Live Casino and Hotel, or just show up in person at the FanDuel Sportsbook, and you can reserve a blue reclining chair. Best place to watch the fights, just steps away from the FanDuel Sportsbook, the giant media wall, all the great food and drink specials, and an atmosphere that's unparalleled in our area. Sports and Social inside Live Casino and Hotel Maryland.
Luka Doncic is now only 5 assists away from.
Did you say that like there was another Doncic? Like not Steven Doncic.
No, I said Luka. I said Luka first, so I was like Luka. I was just gonna say Luka,
Okay,
and then I was like, I guess I should say Luka
Right.
Doncic. Is now just 5 assists away of becoming the first NBA player in a single postseason to have 150 rebounds, 50 assists, and 50 made threes in a single postseason.
100. Say it again.
150 rebounds,
Right.
150 assists,
Right.
and 50 3-pointers made.
Wow.
So he's at 145 assists right now.
Okay.
And
So he's gonna get there.
Seems that way.
Yeah.
Seems that way. I think he will. Also, he and Kyrie and man, I apologize because I thought I typically I thought my YouTube TV just automatically tapes the games, so I can go back and watch them later.
It's all right. You've been traumatized by
Sure.
working near that
Thank
window.
you. There was a really good stat on TNT yesterday, and I looked at it really quickly, but I was like, all right, I'll go back. I'll rewind it this morning to find it. Apparently, I didn't tape the game. so I couldn't find the exact stat. It had to do with both of them scoring 35 points. So one I did find from OptaStats, they became the second duo in NBA history to each score 35 points while clinching a spot in the NBA Finals.
Jerry West and Elgin Baylor.
That is exactly right.
Nicely done. Look at this guy. Look at this. Why is the answer always Elgin Baylor whenever we do an NBA question?
That's the first thing that came to my mind.
That's really unbelievable.
Well done, Stan. Well done, Stan.
So you got anything else?
Yes, I have one more.
Right.
Earlier,
I better leave the room.
Right, that was your moment, man.
Earlier this season, Salvador Perez hit his 250th career home run. He joined pretty elite catching company. There are only 3 catchers to have 5 Gold Gloves and have 250 home runs in this
Johnny
career.
Bench.
Johnny Bench is one of them.
Mike Piazza.
Not Mike Piazza.
Yeah, I think the Gold Gloves. Yeah.
I was going for that streak that
yeah,
the
right.
pitcher had.
You were. Yeah, you're Espada. What is his name? Estrada.
Estrada.
Yes.
How about
Pudge.
Roy Campanella?
Pudge.
Pudge.
Yeah, Pudge. Ivan Rodriguez. Over 300 home runs and 13 Gold Gloves.
Wow. And is there a third one?
No, hold on. I'm gonna pull up because there's 7 catchers with five Gold Gloves, so I was gonna do that one real quick. So the 3 you have.
So
there's 4.
Posey.
Sorry. No, not Buster Posey.
How about Sundberg? Jim Sundberg.
Yes, Jim Sundberg is on the list.
Nice. How about
Bench? Did we already say?
We got Bench.
Yeah, Johnny Bench, Pudge Rodriguez.
Gary Carter?
Not Gary Carter.
Dempsey?
No, not Dempsey.
Yadier Molina.
Yadier Molina is one of them.
And how many is it again?
We need 2 more. With 5
Gold Gloves.
Catchers with 5 Gold Gloves.
Roy Campanella?
No, not Roy Campanella.
Did one of them play for the Yankees?
No. One was a longtime Philadelphia Philly, then he would join the California Angels in the 80s.
Bob Boone.
Bob Boone is correct.
Good answer.
He was a great defensive catcher. Really great.
Detroit Tiger for 15 seasons in the 60s and 70s.
Bill Freehan.
Bill Freehan.
Very nicely done.
Good thing Stan's here today.
Done, right? Yeah, he's shouldering the heavy load today. Well done.
I sharpened my skills through the
immaculate grid. That's what got you there. That's tidbit for today. All right, I'll save Tubular here for a bit because we're about to be joined by Ben Verlander. One other thing that was on my list for today, I think a lot of people. John Harbaugh was asked, apparently this week Lamar Jackson wasn't at OTAs. Now, he's been at other OTAs. This week he wasn't at OTAs. And John Harbaugh gave like the word salad of word salads when he was asked about it. First of all, you can't possibly get me to care. Either way, you can't get me to care. You'll never, in a million years, I don't care who shows up for OTAs or not. I have never had anyone prove some sort of correlation between showing up at OTAs and winning a Super Bowl. It's never happened. There is no data that says it. Yes, I don't think it hurts. I'm glad that Lamar Jackson showed up for last week's OTAs. This is the way this goes. You can't say something is a voluntary event and then try to force somebody to be there. It just doesn't work that way. I don't think it hurts that someone's there. I have nothing that proves that it's definitively helpful that someone's there. I don't think the difference in whether or not the Ravens will be able to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs next year will be about whether or not Lamar Jackson was hanging out in the building on May 30th. I can't imagine the thought process that someone believes that that's the case. John Harbaugh is asked about it, and basically, like the rules say, you're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to discuss.
Right, it's not mandatory.
And I think it's a step beyond that because you would think that somebody say, "Hey, it's not mandatory, but we still like him to be here. Like it'd be nice if he was here."
Can't say that.
Apparently, the rules have changed, and you're not even allowed to do that. Like within the bargaining agreement between the players and the teams, you can't criticize someone for not being there. So what's he supposed to say? All he can do is sort of say, we got guys that are here. We're working with those guys.
Yeah.
That's the way. Like, yes, it's a word salad answer, but that's because that's all he can say. It's a very weird thing that we're obsessed with. Is he going to play the games that matter? Because if he is, I'm good.
But the writers the media must know that rule, correct?
Yeah, I don't know.
So why do they even ask the question?
It's almost like it's a baiting thing. Like we want to try to get you in. Maybe
Into
we
trouble.
can get him to. Maybe we can get him to
fined.
say, like, dude, it's part of the reason why I just don't cover things the way that I used to, man. Because like I can't pretend like that is valuable content in any way. All right. Let's talk some Orioles right now. Always appreciate the opportunity to catch up with our next guest. And speaking of guests, he had a hell of a guest on his podcast this week, one Gunnar Henderson. Perhaps you've heard of him. He is the host of Flippin Bats, on Fox Sports. He is the great Ben Verlander, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Ben, it's Glenn and Stan the Fan here in Baltimore. It's always great to catch up with you, man. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Of course. Appreciate you for having me on.
Like, when you sit down with Gunnar Henderson and you prepare it, here are the things that I want to talk about, is the first topic just, you're good. Like, how's it like to be good?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You just want to figure out how he's gotten to this point. And, yes, you are really good. You are an AL MVP candidate. Tell me how.
It's more or less the way, just to kind of take a big picture, because we talked about Gunnar a little bit earlier on. The weird part is he's got like a sub-230 batting average in May. And yet we all still think that this month fortifies his argument for MVP. What have you made about Gunnar Henderson, the way he's become this type of power hitter, and yet also in an era where it seems like no one's getting on base anymore, despite his batting average being probably a little bit lower than where he would like it, being such a weapon because he still gets on base so significantly and is so willing, even when he's angry about it and throwing his bat afterwards, to take a walk?
Yeah, that's the thing for me that's been a massive change for me with Gunnar Henderson. And that's kind of what I talked to him about for a little while was, hey, how have you, like last year, we saw you struggle at the beginning of the year. It was a big struggle. You worked through it. What was the process like there? How were you able to do that? How were you able to get through that? And how did that help you as a hitter? And he said that's helped him big time this year. Just being able to realize he can get through the struggles, he can push through that. And I think being able to go through that for him was huge. And now we're seeing him flourish, and his struggles aren't the same struggles as everybody else. And that's what makes a good hitter. That's what makes a great hitter great. Is the highs are really high and the lows aren't as low or inconsistent as everybody else. And I see that with Gunnar Henderson. And, the power has come about this year. That was one funny thing I asked him about. I said, Corbin Burns said when asked about your power that it was pretty average. And I said, you care to respond to that? And he said, yeah, I'll say his cutter is pretty average, which I thought was a great response.
Yeah, I think that's doing the least is the way that those words work. Do you feel like there's still a possibility that we haven't even seen like the best version of Gunnar Henderson yet? Like that, knowing all of the skills he has, there still could be a moment where like all of this comes together and he's truly like one of the most different types of baseball players that we see of this era.
Yeah, I think we've seen the best of him in different aspects, whether it be power, whether it be getting on base, whether it be defense. But I don't think we've consistently, and I do think he'll continually get better. He's so young and not even in his prime yet. But I do think what we're starting to see and what we can see more of is that consistency and seeing it all come together at once. And when that happens, I think Gunnar Henderson is can be the best player in the game of baseball. I think if you're starting a franchise tomorrow and you get to pick one player, I think there's two names in that conversation. I think it's Bobby Witt Jr. and I think it's Gunnar Henderson. And I think Gunnar Henderson is still coming into his own and finding that consistency in his career, and it's been incredible to watch.
It's interesting, Ben. You mentioned Bobby Witt there. I wrote a column recently, and I told Glenn that I was about to write a column how Mike Elias had made the wrong pick. This is when the Orioles played Kansas City in April. And I waited until the end of that series, and then all of a sudden, Rutschman, there's nothing against Bobby Witt, Rutschman really took off. And I ended up writing the column a month later saying, I'm not so sure Elias didn't pick the right player in Rutschman. Where do you put Rutschman in the top 5-8 players in the game right now?
Yeah, I think you have to look at a couple different things when you're comparing an Adley to a Bobby Witt Jr. One, being a catcher is the hardest position in baseball. There's so much that goes into it, and I understand shortstop is a premier position, but as a catcher, what you're doing is not only do you have to hit in your offense, you need to, obviously everybody's always going to look at your offensive numbers. You're also controlling the defense. You're controlling the field out in front of you. You're also in charge of a pitching staff, the entire rotation, every arm down in the bullpen. And, point no further to the fact with Adley that if you don't understand the value that guy brings, just let's go back to the day that he came up to the big leagues and point to that to the second it all turned around for the Baltimore Orioles. So I think him being a catcher and the leader of that team is invaluable. Bobby Witt Jr. is fantastic in his own right, but they're completely different players, and it's tough to say. So when you look at a draft that had Adley and Gunnar at the top there, then you sit back and think, well, really, maybe the right picks were made. We got our catcher, the guy that turned the franchise around, and we got our shortstop of the future. So. It's tough to compare the two, though, for sure.
Hey, Ben, are you aware of the streak the Orioles are on since Rutschman came to the major leagues? They have not been swept.
Well, they hadn't been, obviously, until the Cardinals season.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I'm a week late. I snoozed for a week.
Yeah.
That was pretty amazing. That was, what was it, 105?
Yeah, 105, something like that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, which is incredible. It's incredible in a statement,
incredible.
no doubt. Ben Verlander is with us here on GCR. Ben, I wonder, because I have been accused of being obsessed with this number. I still have a serious concern about the Orioles getting on base at a 305 clip as a team. You don't win a World Series getting on base at a 305 clip. That's a fact. That doesn't happen. The worst of the millennium was 311. I also acknowledge that on-base percentage is kind of down across the league this season. I'm not exactly sure what the story is. And we know that part of the reason why the Orioles on-base percentage is down is because some of their veterans have had particularly awful seasons, guys like Cedric Mullins and Austin Hayes, and they're probably not quite this bad. But knowing this is a good baseball team, we all acknowledge that, but their ability to win a World Series, how concerned do you feel like we should be about the fact that their on-base percentage as a team has been down so far?
Look, I think the Orioles are a playoff team, and looking at those numbers doesn't really concern me right now. I wouldn't say the blueprint to winning in the postseason has become apparent over the last, 5-10 years in this current state of baseball. It's about having a couple of aces at the top of the rotation. That's why I wasn't, I don't want to say super high on the Orioles in the playoffs last year. I did think they would do better than they did, but I did think they were missing that bona fide superstar ace at the top of the rotation. Now you go out and get that in the offseason with Corbin Burns. Now you pair it with Bradish and Grayson Rodriguez, who are ace-like pitchers in their own rights, and that's the blueprint you need in the rotation side of things. And then offensively, the game changes a bit in the playoffs as well. It becomes, guys got to be able to hit the ball out of the yard. You don't often see, against the best pitchers in baseball, a team string together 4 singles or 3 singles and a double to score. It's usually, the long ball kind of breaks it open. They're able to do that. I have to believe, I'm going to go off of track record, that those guys are going to improve. I think the offense is going to improve. They're going to get on base more. I think there's a chance they add at the trade deadline, maybe search for an outfielder. But I would say my answer to that question is I'm not super concerned about their ability to win in the playoffs currently.
Is there, we've talked a lot about the bullpen thing, right? And Craig Kimbrell has bounced back nicely from what had been a really rough stretch. Are you confident that Craig Kimbrell is a 9th inning guy still at this point in his career that you can win a World Series with?
No, okay. I'm not confident in that. I think for the last, I don't know, and I love Craig Kimbrell. I love watching him pitch. I think his stuff is capable of being that, but I think he goes through spurts, and I think you can tell when that's happening. And I think in the back end of a bullpen in the postseason, you need consistency. And can they win a World Series with Craig Kimbrell back there? Yes, but do I feel confident and comfortable when he comes in the game as a ninth inning guy? I don't. So I would love to see them shift him to, be able to move him to a different role. And then all of a sudden you're able to use guys how you please, whether it be Cano or Kimbrell, and then, just have another back end of the bullpen guy. I think in a perfect world, if you could chalk up the perfect scenario, it's, hey, the Orioles still have the best farm system in baseball. They have all the young talent in the world in the big leagues already. Let's move some of these pieces to get what we really need and go trade for a guy like Mason Miller, who's the most dominant pitcher in baseball. So does that happen? I have no idea. I will say I literally probably 10 minutes ago was speaking to Cal Ripken Jr. for a future episode, asking him about Gunnar Henderson contracts and trades and all that stuff. So we'll see what happens. But, I would be a little worried about the lack of consistency from Craig Kimbrell in the back end.
Interesting. Cal just turned us down.
No,
I'm just kidding.
Never been turned down.
Hey, Ben, how much more confident would you be, say it wasn't Mason Miller, say it was just somebody else? That
Ryan Helsley.
Not even, it wouldn't have to be a top of the drawer closer, but if they had another option where they didn't have to use Craig Kimbrell all the time back to back, are you more comfortable with him being able to get the saves if he had a couple days rest in between appearances?
Yeah, I think so. I would probably want to dive more in on the numbers there, specifically with Craig, on is he better having a day rest in between, and look at that. But I'm of the belief you can never have too many arms that you're comfortable with to leverage in the back end of a game.
Yep.
And then come October, those arms, screw roles. Let's figure out who's pitching well, who's ready to go right now. And just, there are teams that don't necessarily have, this is our 8th inning guy, this is our 9th inning guy, and they're able to go out and win because they get guys that are hot and pitching well at the back end, and they use them in the high leverage situations. I think of years ago, at the time they were called the Cleveland Indians, but the way they were using Andrew Miller, he was their best arm. He was the best arm out of that bullpen, and if they needed to use him in the 5th, 6th, and 7th inning, they would. If they needed to use him in the 8th and 9th, they would. But you find the hot arm and you go with it, and you can never have too much. So if they need to go get a guy that's, hey, you're a back end of the bullpen guy, whether it be 7th, 8th, or 9th, you're going to help us out a lot. And come October, you might be closing games for us. Who knows?
Ben, I want to get your thoughts because I've been talking a lot the last couple of weeks about the future of balls and strikes, and it just feels like, and it's not just because Angel Hernandez, it just feels like there has been a push and an acceptance that something is happening and something is changing and something is coming. I don't understand why we have the technology, why we don't go full ABS, but it doesn't feel like the players are even having the appetite for that, and we know the umpires have no appetite for that. Are you confident that in the next 3 to 5 years at the latest, there will at least be like a challenge system, something that affects balls and strikes or changes the way that we've known balls and strikes calls?
Yeah, I think it's almost a certainty that you give me 3 to 5 years, I would put it pretty close to 100% that something happens. The hitters don't love a full robot ump system. Pitchers don't love a full robot umpire system. What I think we are heading towards is the challenge system. I think a lot of people are on board for that. I think it keeps umpires a part of the game. I think it allows the game to be as it truly should be, meaning like, look, there's a human element to all this, but let's make sure the egregious call doesn't end the game. Let's make sure there's not a game that ends because there's a pitch 8 inches off the plate that's accidentally called a strike that everyone in the world knows isn't a strike. So that's where I think we're going for. I think the challenge system is coming soon. It's really quick. I don't know if many people have seen it, but I've seen it in action. It's really quick. If a hitter or a pitcher challenges a strike, I mean, we're talking like 5 seconds and it's known, and you can make a deal out of it. You can put it on the scoreboard. You can make it look cool. So yeah, I think that's the way we're going, and I'm all for that.
How many do you think you do? How many challenge? Is it one per inning? Is it one per batter per game? Like, what's the correct answer for this?
I think that's a great question. I've thought a lot about it. I think it's somewhere in the range of 3 per game. So you just need to be, look, you can't have everything be challenged. You can't have 1 per inning. That's probably too many. But I think, it should also be something like, hey, it's 3, but if you get them all right, you get another. And if you get that one right, you get another.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. You can tinker with it. I'm sure it will be tinkered with. I'm sure it'll get to the big league. And players, it always works itself out, right? Okay, this is progress, but we need to adapt here. This needs to be better. We can do better with it here, and I think that's what we'll see.
Ben, I think you're absolutely right about the challenge system, and I like your idea about that. I just have one other question about the full-on robo-ump situation. Why is it that pitchers would be against it? Wouldn't the number one thing a pitcher would be the consistency of the strike zone, that they know what's a strike on Tuesday is a strike on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday?
I'll tell you why pitchers don't want it, and that's not the number one thing they want. The number one thing they want is that pitch that's about 3 inches off the plate that they consistently get called a strike one way or another. I watch games all the time, and you look, one thing everybody needs to know, that box on the screen isn't precise. It's not science. There's just a box that's put up there.
Okay.
That's not necessarily perfectly right, but all the time you watch games and you hear, this umpire is hitter-friendly. This umpire is pitcher-friendly.
Right.
He loves the outside strike. And that's where me personally, as a hitter professionally, I would get pissed off at is, look, there's a plate down there, and it's white. And if it's on that plate, it's a strike. If it's off it, it's a ball. Why are we giving 6 inches off the plate? But that's where I think we're going to see a big difference for pitchers. Where I do think it'll help them is north to south pitches, balls low, balls high. Where I think it will hurt them is in and out, because they consistently get pitches in and off the plate that are called strikes.
What will it do to pitch framing, which I've always called cheating?
It kills it to some sense. I mean, there's really not to some sense. It basically kills pitch framing. If you go full robo ump,
I'm in favor.
There's no point. You can
I think they
you
like
might as well
pitch framing. Yeah, I think they like
it doesn't matter what you put back there, who you put back there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you catch it. What we're going to see is probably catchers getting in a much better position to throw runners out, and we'll see how that evolves. But it'll all become about who cares how you catch it. There's an automated strike zone that'll tell you if it's a ball or strike. Just get ready to throw out any and everybody on the bases.
This week on Flippin Bats, Gunnar Henderson, and coming soon, Cal Ripken Jr. to Flippin Bats. So you want to make sure that you are subscribed. Of course, at Ben Verlander on Twitter is how you follow him. Ben, always appreciate you, man. Thanks for hopping on with us for a couple of minutes this morning.
Appreciate it, guys. Always a lot of fun.
Thanks, Ben.
Ben Verlander with us here on GCR. We're going to grab a break. There's some news. I don't know if everybody's familiar. There's a new establishment opening like right across the street from Camden Yards. So when you go to baseball games, like this weekend, there's a new place that you're going to be able to hang out, and we're going to tell you about that. Still to come this morning, we'll check in with Richie Palacios from the Rays, Towson Zone, talk some lacrosse, too. We still got a lot to do on a Friday edition of Glenn Clark Radio.
What company makes your home more energy efficient, purifies your air, kills all viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates? A.J. Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis at ajmichaels.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor, dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Grayson Rodriguez, talking to people who have been part of his path as the Orioles hope he'll become their next homegrown ace. Also inside, we remember legendary Maryland basketball coach Lefty Drizel with stories from legends like Roy Williams and Bobby Cremins about what it was like to go up against the old left-hander. Press Box is available at over 500 locations around Baltimore, including 60 Royal Farm stores. You can also find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The Ed Block Courage Award Foundation has been working in partnership with the NFL for 46 years to support abused, neglected, and at-risk youth across the country, partnering each team with a children's facility or program that supports the well-being of those in need. Annually, one player from each team is selected by their peers to receive the Courage Award for their inspiration on and off the field. Learn more about how the Ed Block Courage Award Foundation makes a difference, and be sure to check out their latest podcast and web series episodes at edblock.org.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
Back in here on GCR, and we have a very special guest who's back in the studio with us. We always like it when we see Haley Beck's face from Guilford Hall Brewery, but particularly, I'm a big fan of good news, right? I always like when there's good news. First of all, Haley, it's wonderful to see you. Thank you for being back in studio with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, as everybody knows, I love Guilford Hall. In fact, I spent my St. Patrick's Day at Guilford Hall this year. Brought the boys over. They were playing giant Jenga for a little while.
Those pictures were very cute.
Oh, my God. They had the time of their lives. They loved hanging out at Guilford Hall. It was a great, great day. So,
what do they like to drink?
What do they like to? They're my Maybach guys.
Yeah, they're Maybach guys.
Maybach. We got there. So we didn't tell them where we were going we just didn't know what we were doing. Like when we were like, hey, we're gonna go have a fun day.
Yeah.
And so we showed up, and like they kind of recognized it from the shows that we had done, but didn't fully recognize it. And then we walked out back, and they saw like the bouncy house and everything, and they said, "We don't care. We don't care. We're just this is where we are. We're gonna spend the entirety of the day there."
I love to hear that.
It was a wonderful day. So I love Guilford Hall Brewery, and I had heard rumblings about this in the past, and I didn't know when it was coming to fruition. And the answer is now.
Today's the day.
Now.
Yes.
Tell everybody about what's new. In fact, a new location for Guilford Hall Brewery.
Yep. So, how's everyone doing today? Guilford Hall Brewery is actually opening a new restaurant. It's called Maryland Yards. It is on 511 West Pratt Street. So it's right across from Camden Yards. It's right next to Pickles in Section 771. So it's the perfect location right before an Orioles game, especially today. Today is actually our grand opening. Starts at 4:30 is our ribbon cutting. We're having the Ravens cheerleaders come out. We're having the Oriole bird come out. We have a DJ. We're going to have a champagne toast when we cut the ribbon as well. We're doing light appetizers being passed around, and it's just going to be a really fun day. So we're excited to be a part of Baltimore.
And
finally.
so the menu, like the difference between what everybody knows of Guilford Hall Brewery and Maryland Yards, is it like the same menu? Is it the same?
Nope, totally different menu. So Guilford is more European style cuisine over there, and Maryland Yards will be more Maryland Chesapeake cuisine. So we have a seafood tower, we have a crab cake sandwich. sandwich. We have crab dip, which is delicious, by the way.
What's similar?
We have crab soup. We do. It's one of my favorites.
Cream of crab and
Cream
Maryland.
of crab.
It's very important.
Maryland crab. We have salmon. We have a bunch of seafood options that is much different than Guilford because Guilford doesn't really have stuff like that. So yeah, we're really excited. We have happy hour, Maryland Yards 4 to 7. Guilford's closed on Mondays, but Maryland Yards will be open all day, all week.
Nice.
So Monday spot, if you guys want to go there instead of Guilford, that's where you can go. 4 to 7's happy hour.
So lunch and dinner?
Lunch and dinner. Yes, sir. You got it.
And open till when?
Yeah, so Monday through Friday is 11 a.m., so you can come in to see us at lunchtime to 11 p.m.
Okay.
And then Friday and Saturday is till midnight, and then Saturday is till 2 a.m.
See, I love this because particularly with the game starting at 6:30 now and how quickly they've gone, this means you could also go back over afterwards.
Come back over. We want to see you guys.
100% and hang out. So I love that, and it adds to what we want, which is a more vibrant downtown, places that are open, things that are going on.
Exactly.
This is great for the community.
Exactly.
You and I were talking about this. I want to make this abundantly clear. What I'm about to say, I'm not disparaging other businesses. I love all local businesses.
Yes.
I want to make that abundantly clear. I am now 40 years old. I am past the point of my life where I love being shoved in like a sardine and trying to fight for any sort of amount of room or having like very loud EDM music like I'm just past that part of my life, and I want to make it's not a knock on the places that do that because that's for a lot of people. A lot of people enjoy that, and that's what they want. And at a point in my life, I enjoyed that too. I'm just past that. This is not necessarily what we should be expecting at Maryland Yards when we go there before games.
Exactly. Yes, it is not going to be like packed in like sardines, which is great. It's more of an elevated feel, which is amazing. We still do have great deals, happy hour specials from 4 to 7. We have $7 wine by the glass, $5 craft beers and local beers, $10 Maryland style cocktails. We do game days specials, which is $10 orange crushes or grapefruit crushes. So we still have those like good deals, but it's just in an elevated atmosphere. So it's not like as much as the party feel, but we want people to come over and like have a good time with us. Drink as much as you want, eat as much as you want, but we're not going to be having EDM music blasting your eardrums off.
Again, no offense.
But we love other places that do that. I just am I'm almost 30, so I'm getting to the point now where
almost
I'm like,
stop that. Stop that.
So I'm like, I need a more elevated feel. So that's perfect for Maryland.
That's why
Yards.
we have Stan around us to keep us young.
Yeah,
that's what we do.
Stan's 35 over here.
Big question.
Yes.
When you come over after an O's game, will there be TVs with some other sporting events coming on?
Yes, sir.
We continue the sports vibe.
Absolutely. Yep. So we kind of want to make it like a sports atmosphere as well as an elevated atmosphere. So we're actually we don't have TVs outside as of right now, but we're going to have TVs outside. So,
awesome.
if you want to go out there before, after the game, during the game, watch, any other baseball game, football game. We're also open football season too. So it's perfect location. We have TVs inside too at the bar. So yep, we have TVs ready for you for any game.
That sounds great.
This is unfortunately, we've had to deal with a lot of rain this year, and this is particularly ideal for where's the place that you go when you're not sure yet exactly when you're going to want to go into the stadium.
Exactly.
You come over, you hang out, and then you wait it out.
Yep.
And once things clear up, then you wander
Then you
over.
go. And the perfect thing is you can sit outside and you can watch people go in. So as soon as you see
you
everyone,
start to notice
then you're like,
going,
okay,
might
I
be
can
time.
go.
Might be time.
It's my time.
But also, it sounds like the type of place. The thing I hate is leaving a ballpark right after the game.
Oh,
you
it's
get
the worst.
in traffic.
Yep.
You could walk from the ballpark, keep your parking space over on the lot.
Yep.
And just come on over
and
have a drink.
just come on over. Yep. Let the traffic bypass.
Something to eat. And
exactly.
And leave a half
That's
hour,
what we
45
want.
minutes later.
You got it, Stan. I better see you. I better see you over there.
You will.
Haley, of course, there at Guilford Hall Brewery, and now Maryland Yards.
Yep.
Now open, grand opening event tonight. So before you get over to the game tonight, stop over.
Are you going to be there?
I am. I think that I have worked it out. It was it was a hotly
We're trying
contested.
to get Glenn to come to the grand
opening. It
opening.
was a hotly contested issue in my house this week, but I think that I have worked it out. That I'm going to be able to at least stop by for a minute. And I
told your wife you had to fix the window.
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
No, I'm first of all, my wife do more of those bottomless mimosa days, like on St. Patrick's Day, and Mrs. Clark will be there. The moment I said. She was like, "What are we doing?" I said, "Well, bottomless mimosa." She said, "Yes, that's what we're doing. We're going to Guilford Hall, and that's what we're going to spend." She actually was asking everybody there if she could move in. She was like,
she can move in.
Can I get an apartment?
Yeah,
right
we
here
got
and
her.
just stay here moving forward. So no, I do think I'm going to be able to come by for a little bit at some point tonight. Look, I'm a fan. Everybody knows that. I love Guilford Hall. I love that space. the Maryland Yards, as far as like events, things like that, it's easy to say, hey, before a game, come over and hang out. But can we expect similar, because there's always something going on at Guilford Hall.
Always at Guilford.
Can there be, like maybe the night there's not a game, might there be events, things like that at Maryland
so
Yards?
we're definitely going to be, we're not going to be doing as many events as Guilford, just as you guys know, Guilford's more of an event space as well. You know, it's unbelievable. You know, Maryland Yards, we did have a couple networking events there recently, just with different businesses coming around. So we do like private events like that.
Cool.
From what I know, I think we're going to try to do, like I was just talking to John, maybe like a live show or something along those lines, kind of like we did for Tyus Bowser and things like that. Guilford's our main event place, but I think Maryland Yards will definitely be having events going forward.
I love this. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited. But if you guys can't come today, please check us out.
Yes, this is not a single day thing.
It's not a single day thing. It's open.
It's now a permanent part of our community.
Yes,
and
we are open.
The downtown
Maryland Yards.
Maryland Yards.
So you also graciously gifted us beer.
As always, yep.
I am going to allow Griffin to be the live taste tester this morning.
Oh God, I'm nervous.
Griffin, of course, is he's more the youth. Like, he's our young guy around here.
Thank you.
He's our.
I actually like the Maibach, and I'm not.
We're starting with the Maibach.
Yes, and I'm not the biggest beer girl, even though I work for a brewery.
So tell me about the Maibach.
So the Maibach is our springtime beer. It's more of a lighter, crisp taste than the Irish Red, which is over here. Yes, lemon lime. You know,
this is the refreshing. You don't realize that you just had 7 of these because they just go down that smooth type
and
of beer.
it's not a sour, but we do have a sour coming out, Berliner Weiss. I always forget how to say that. That's coming out in the summer, so we do have a sour, and I'll bring that to you guys too, so you can kind of test it out.
Is that a hey now?
Oh God, I'm scared. I don't want to watch.
Hey now.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Is it good? Yay!
Refreshing summer.
No, it's really that's one of my favorites.
Probably do probably go 6 or 7 of these.
That really, it almost becomes the danger of that type of beer where you're like, that's so refreshing that I could end up having a long day.
That's why I only brought you guys a 6-pack, because I couldn't have you.
You want to do a live test of the or do you want to wait?
Sure,
you want to wait?
My favorite thing about these two is that these cans always they have facts on them.
Yes, we have the fun facts.
What do you have?
Well, it says that this one it's a German beer, and it's originally produced to be consumed during the month of May. So that
we just snuck it in.
We're in May. We just got it. Woohoo!
You're gonna have to drink all. You're gonna have to drink all 6, unfortunately, today.
Yeah, you have to drink them today. Before June hits.
We got a couch.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Sit there.
What happens on June 1st?
Oh, you don't want to know, Stan.
Yeah.
You don't want to know, Stan. We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about what happens then.
We can save the Irish Red if you. Or do you want to try? Do you want to try? Oh, great.
Yeah, you guys can try it.
He's 20. What? He's 20. None of he's not actually. I want to make that abundantly clear.
Yeah,
he's definitely of legal age. Definitely of legal age.
He's still young. He's still young.
Abundantly clear. But this just doesn't affect him the way I have a beer in the middle of the day now, Haley.
Oh,
and my day is
Glenn, I get it.
Ruined.
No, I feel that same way when I drink during the day.
Like it's not. I can't do it any longer.
Yeah, I can't hang anymore. I can't.
Haley pretending
you can hang.
Oh, I might have shaken that up a little bit by accident. So sorry.
We good? We good. All right. This is. Now tell me about the Irish Red.
Yeah. So the Irish Red came out in March. It was our St. Patrick's Day beer, which is great. I think it has more of like a bitter taste to it, in my eyes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it has that. It's like when you taste a beer like that and you're like, huh,
Yeah,
I like it.
Definitely a March Madness beer.
Yes,
right
it's a darker
right
beer for sure. The Maibach's on the lighter side. I think that's why you like that. But definitely two good beers. I think it's
Colson's now stalking. He's trying to come in and get
come
some
on,
beer.
John,
He's
get
trying
some
to
beer.
come in and get a beer.
Yeah,
he wants to get.
I don't think you guys have tried those before, so I wanted to bring the 2 that you haven't tried.
Hey, I don't know. Look, this is wonderful news. I can't wait to be down there.
I'm excited to have you guys.
and to have the place for me that I will be able to hang out before
Exactly.
games. This will be for those that this will be my meeting spot when we say, hey, we want to go to a game. Where do we meet up ahead of time?
Maryland
Yards. You like that?
It will be at Maryland
You
Yards.
like the Irish Red better? Yeah. See, different taste buds. Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Love that.
Haley, thank you as always.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
We're going to be there. We're going to be supporting Maryland Yards.
And the seafood towers in the other room.
And the seafood towers in the other room. I'm about to bring it out for you guys.
Giant quart of the cream of crab.
Yep, giant, just for you, Stan.
Do you mix, do many people
half
mix
and half?
Half and half. Half and half.
That's my favorite soup, so they better.
I like regular Maryland crab.
I'm a cream of crab man.
You
connoisseur.
guys gotta, yeah.
I am, in fact, whatever we do tonight, I'm going to try the cream of crab because I have to try the cream of crab everywhere.
Everywhere you go and rate it on a scale from 1 to 10.
I'm a cream of crab freak that way.
Love it.
Love you. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you guys so much. Love you guys. You're the best. Thank you guys.
Guilford Hall and Maryland Yards. Now let's do this.
There is a place where tradition, family, and community gather, where the aspirations of talented young competitors takes root, and where the crossroads of history, culture, and renewal come together. This spring, experience America's newest and most innovative ballpark, Meritus Park in Hagerstown, Maryland, home of the Atlantic League Flying Boxcars. Plan your getaway today. You're welcome in Hagerstown, Maryland.
Thank you. There we go. That's me. I'm here now. It is time to get totally tubular here on GCR. Thanks again to Haley Beck from Guilford Hall for stopping by. And seriously, you're going to want to hang out at Maryland Yards. You're going to, and I can't wait to get down there and check it out. All right, here's what's coming up this weekend, totally tubular-wise. Of course, Orioles Rays starting tonight in Baltimore. Masson 2, Aaron Savale and Albert Suarez, the pitching matchup tonight. Tomorrow at 4, Taj Bradley and Kyle Bradish. That one also happens to be the free game of the day on MLB TV if you do not live in the area. And Sunday 1:30, Zach Littell and Cole Irvin. That's also on MLB Network in the rest of the country if you don't live in the area for the Rays-Orioles series, all games on Masson 2. Hockey conference finals this weekend. Tonight, Game 5 between the Oilers and Stars at 8:30 on TNT and True TV. Tomorrow, ABC for Rangers-Panthers Game 6. You had the Rangers, if I remember correctly. So are you panicked at this point?
Oh, yeah, I'm panicked.
You're panicked because that serise now
it's DEFCON 5.
Goes back to Miami with a chance for the Panthers to close it out.
Actually.
Well, your Minnesota ticket. Sure.
I need a French Open winner. Can you give me
for the tournament or like a match winner?
I mean,
all right, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about
it. Right now.
No, I can't give it to you right now. I'm sorry. Rangers-Panthers Game 6 tomorrow night at 8 on ABC. Sunday, Game 6 between the Stars and the Oilers at 8 o'clock on TNT. As Griffin points out, French Open right now on Tennis Channel. Tomorrow it starts on Tennis Channel at 5 a.m., then moves to NBC at noon and Peacock at 2. On same thing for Sunday, except it's Peacock at 3. And what else matters this weekend? What else is going on? Oh, the Champions League final is tomorrow on CBS. Borussia Dortmund and Real Madrid tomorrow at 3 o'clock on CBS. And PLL season gets underway, which means the first ever inaugural.
You all right, Stan?
What did he do?
Can
I see that again?
That's the whip snake right there.
Yeah. Griffin's, of course, a big Maryland Whip Snakes fan now. He's all in P1 Maryland Whip Snakes fan. And so
what is it about the Whip Snakes that you like?
They're from Maryland.
They're our team. Okay. They're ours. The Maryland Whip Snakes. First ever game for the Maryland Whip Snakes will be Sunday 3:30 against the New York Atlas.
Let me see it one more time,
on
Griffin.
ESPN Plus. Don't encourage this behavior. Don't.
So that right
Jim
there,
Stignita, the coach
that right there is the whip snake.
of the Maryland Whip Snakes, has encouraged this.
Keep doing that. That's going to take your
I'm
career
really
places.
worried that we're going to get to Homewood Field and we're going to have Griffin up on the screen doing the whip snake. I don't know what to
just
make
see
of that.
in 5-6 years the Ravens are ready to announce.
Yes,
Griffin Bass is the new
play-by-play voice of the team.
And somebody says, "Have you seen this video
sure
from the
about
Glenn
this
Clark show?"
I think this could only.
Think that might be how you get the job. Is actually from that. Yeah.
I do. Yes.
I don't know about.
Maybe
that.
he's trying to get the Whip Snakes job.
This might be what he. I'd be a good job to have. Fights this weekend tomorrow night, as we mentioned, ESPN Plus pay-per-view for UFC 302. Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier. That's at 10 o'clock, and then DAZN pay-per-view for Deontay Wilder and Zhilei Zhang tomorrow. The card starts at 2 o'clock, but the expected walk time is what, 6:30?
Yeah, about 5:30.
5:30. Okay.
So Fury and Usyk are going to
they're running it back.
December.
They're running it back. Happy New Year. They're going to explain why it is.
Is it a New Year's Eve?
No, but
December 21st.
Tyson Fury, we all think was because he was concussed. He yelled out Happy New Year after he lost the last fight. Now, maybe the answer was he was just very excited about the next fight, which is going to be right before the New Year. But yeah, I guess every fight's going to be.
Let's chip in and bring it to my house.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good on the. Well, I don't know. I'd watch the Fury fight maybe. I'm not going to watch Deontay Wilder. I'm not going to watch tomorrow.
No, I'm talking about the Fury.
Yeah, the Fury fight maybe. I would be willing to watch it. All right, anything non-sports this weekend that stands out?
No, not really.
Okay.
So Jacob Batalon will be on Jimmy Kimmel, along with Maya Rudolph, actually. But Jacob Batalon from Ned from Spider-Man, he's in a new movie called Tarot. It's like a horror movie about tarot card readings.
Did you say tarot card?
Tarot card.
That's what I said. Tarot.
This is like Arnold Schwarzenegger, like a good neighbor.
Say, tear it
on the Roku channel.
Go get our tear it card. What do you like dipping in ranch along with your wings? Caros? Do you enjoy some Caros with that?
Well, that's exactly.
Tear it.
No.
Glenn, who does a better whip
I was
snake?
trying to, this could be a challenge now moving forward. We got dueling whip snakes on the screen.
Yeah, but Stan just looks like a. I
bet if the next bet you two
You don't think that's a whip snake?
How about if the next bet you make, you have to go out in public and do that to people?
No, that's not a lost bet for Griffin. He chooses to do that.
Spread the good word of the whip snake.
Yes.
Wait a minute, let Haley's still here. Maybe he could come tonight and just do it in front of Maryland Lake.
We're going to do a whip snake watch party
Yards.
at Maryland Yards.
Ooh,
that's the play. We'll look into that moving forward.
Roku channel has.
I was trying to figure out what Tarot was. I just thought it was like somebody's name when you said that was the name of the movie.
Talking about carrots.
Tarot.
Carrot reading.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. What else?
Celebrity Family Food Battle on the Roku channel.
Okay, so nothing.
The Miz is involved. The Miz is going to be on Celebrity Family Food Battle.
The answer's nothing.
And Bianca Belair, actually.
I like them. I'm not going to watch that.
Sofia Vergara, Howie Mandel.
You keep trying to put this thing over. You're not going to accomplish it.
And the
Is there
D'Amelios.
something worth watching? Yo, that's your girl. That's your girl.
Jim Henson, Idea Man, documentary on Disney+.
Oh, okay.
Looks very, very good.
Oh, I would definitely, of course, where Jim Henson went to college.
Of course,
Yeah.
yes. He went to Maryland.
He a Terp?
Mm-hmm. And, he's from, or did he go to high school? No, he
No.
moved to Hyattsville.
Where was, yeah.
I guess that's what it was. I guess he moved to Hyattsville. But yeah, so that it looks very, very good. It looks very well done. There's also
it was originally
Lifetime,
from Mississippi, apparently.
on Lifetime, The Life and Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson. It's a 2-parter, Saturday and Sunday nights.
That feels a little.
It does. It looks definitive to me though. Like the trailer is like 5 minutes long.
You think they worked on it before this?
Oh,
it
yeah.
feels like
Yeah.
Lifetime forcing something and trying to capitalize on OJ dying. That's what it feels like. But if you think that there's a real thing there, then
I thought so. But I mean, but you're right. It is on Lifetime. So.
Yep. You never know. All right. That's it. That's the list. You want to try calling him? You want to try to do that and see if that might.
Can I give you one more this week in the rest of baseball?
Oh, sure, by all means.
Musgrove, Joe Musgrove.
Yes.
He takes on Alec Marsh Saturday night. Notably, if Musgrove can pick up 7 punch-outs, he'll reach 1,000 strikeouts from his career, making him the 554th pitcher in MLB history to hit that milestone. Can you name
all
the other
553? Yes, 1,000%. I got you on all 553. That Chris Benson. First, when you think of great pitchers, that's the name. I don't know why that came.
It's Chris Benson. Let me see.
I have a friend.
I don't think he got 1,000.
How long did Chris Benson pitch? I think there's a chance that Chris Benson got to 1,000. I think it's non-zero that Chris Benson hit 1,000 strikeouts in his career. Maybe I'm overestimating how long Chris Benson pitched for, but it feels like he pitched for a decade. And if he see Haley, love you.
Bye,
Thank
Haley.
you. It's our friend Haley Beck from Guilford Hall, Maryland Yards. Yeah, what you got?
806.
806. Son of a bitch.
Yep.
I've had a nickel for every time Chris Benson
But wait
let
a minute,
me down.
he did pitch in the Negro Leagues.
Oh, and so they get to count those.
Benson. He was Benson in the Negro Leagues.
He had a lovely wife. She was
Warren Spahn would be
interesting person.
one.
Okay, that's the
Sandy
yes,
Koufax
correct.
would
Nolan
be two.
Ryan. We could do this if you want to do it, but I don't think we're going to get to
Let's do it one
554. I don't think we're going to make it there. Orioles and Rays this weekend. Early in the show, we caught up with one former Towson Tiger who's connected to the Tampa Rays and Andy Freed. Now another former Towson Tiger who has settled in quite nicely this season with the Tampa Bay Rays. It's always a pleasure to welcome back into the program Richie Palacios, who's with us here on GCR. Richie, it's Glenn and Stan Charles here in Baltimore. It's great to catch up, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Thank you for having me, Glenn and Stan. Appreciate it.
Hey, Richie, this has seemed like seamless for you. I wonder, at some point when you've gone from one team to another and now another, I don't know if you start to have any doubts creep in or concerns or anything like that. What has made it click so well for you to start things off in Tampa?
Yeah, no, for me, going to a new team, there's not any doubts. It's just an exciting opportunity to meet some new guys, to show them that you can be a good asset to the team. And it's exciting to come to a team like Tampa because, it's just a great culture, winning culture. So I was excited to be a part of that.
The stolen base thing, right? Like, take me through when they changed the rule. How excited were you, and how much do you feel like it has added to the value of what you bring to the table as a baseball player, knowing that you have such the ability to steal bases?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I haven't stole a ton of bases in the minor leagues. I stole a ton in college.
Yeah.
And when I got over here to Tampa, we worked on a bunch of things, and I've been working with our first base coach, MJ, on getting better reads and all that. And within that, I've been able to be very efficient on the base pass. So shout out to MJ. He's helped me a lot with that. And we're just, using that to be a part of the game to help the team win.
Oh, sorry. We got to get Stan's mic back on.
Did you play? Am I on now?
Yep, you're
okay.
Good. Yes.
Richie, did you play for Coach Tyner at Towson or his predecessor?
Yes, my junior year, my draft year, Tyner came in.
What did you think of him as a coach?
Coach T was amazing. Coach T was awesome. He actually recruited me a little bit when he was at Richmond to go there, but things didn't work out. And I was excited when I heard he was coming over to Towson. He's a great guy, a great coach as well. He's a very good motivator. And he's trying to pretty much turn that program around. And he's done an awesome job. I think he's got a couple guys drafted out of there, and they have some really good players over there. So Coach T has been awesome. I stayed in touch with him till today. And it was awesome because he played pro ball, so he was able to, truly, guide me on the path and walk me through it in my junior year, and just, telling me to just play the game and not play for the people outside of it. So Coach T has been awesome.
Richie Palacios of the Tampa Bay Rays is with us here on GCR, former Towson Tiger. With that in mind, should we still be expecting like a huge Towson contingent this weekend at the ballpark, or are they kind of over it at this point? Like, nah, we've been out to see you, bro. We can't make it out to every game now.
Yeah, I mean, I know my close friends from college will be there, college teammates. I don't know how many, other people are still living in Maryland or who's going to show up, but I'm excited because it's usually a surprise when I come here. Some guys text me and some guys just pull up, so it's pretty awesome.
That's cool, man. Richie, at this point, right, like when we've talked a lot about your story and that it's still more uncommon than it is common for someone that plays at Towson to be able to get to the big leagues. But the fact that you've been able to get there and carve out this place for yourself, how much confidence do you feel like you now have to tell other kids, like, no, you can do this. Like, you can make the decision to go somewhere like Towson and still accomplish everything that you want to accomplish in your baseball career?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I actually went to Towson in October. They had a golf tournament, and I went out to the practice, and I just wanted the one goal I wanted to do was to sit there and talk to those guys and tell them that. And I sat there and talked to the guys, and I pretty much told them, like, look, when I got to Towson, I didn't think I was going to be in the big leagues. Like, I just wanted to work hard. That's what I wanted to do. But I told them that if you're doing the things the right way, you're not getting distracted, and you're sacrificing, the snowball can start to go. And when pro ball becomes a thing, then after pro ball, you continue to work hard. And then in major leagues is a possibility. And then being a successful major leaguer is a possibility. So I was able to go over there and tell those guys, like, look, if you put the work in, if you, put the numbers up and you have a good college career, like, you can do it. It's not about you don't have to go to the best school, the biggest school. And I was able to tell those guys that.
Richie, I'm looking at your minor league numbers. Always high on base percentages. And, in fact, you even got one season where you walked more than struck out in a season. What do you attribute that the ability to get on base to? What are you doing right?
For me, it's just, being patient at the plate. I've always had a good eye, but it's about my plan in each at-bat and what I'm looking for. So when I'm going up there, I'm looking for certain pitches. I'm looking for certain zones. And if it's not there, I just don't want to swing at anything just because the guy's throwing it. So for me, it's just, being patient at the plate, getting a good pitch, putting a good swing on it, and being able to take, good pitches that are balls that pitchers are trying to make me chase. So I've always done that, and I'm trying to continue to do that each and every day when pitchers are trying to, extend on us.
Hey, I asked you about Matt Tyner. You play for arguably one of the better managers in baseball. If you could say what makes Kevin Cash a successful manager, what would it be?
There's a ton of things. One of the biggest things is the confidence that he gives you. Of all the managers I played with in my, my career, like, he gives you confidence to go out there and, like, whenever things are going right or things are going wrong, like, he gives you that confidence. And when you have confidence from the manager, it gives you added confidence, especially when you're in the big leagues.
Richie Palacios, another few minutes with him here on GCR, former Towson Tiger. Well, we got to talk about, obviously it was a heck of a week for you. First career walk-off hit yesterday. What does that feel like? What is, I know you've accomplished a ton of things, but just what is that moment like to be the guy that comes through in that spot for the first time in your major league career?
Obviously, a walk-off is always awesome. It was funny because I think the day before I was in an interview talking about clutch hits, and I told the interviewer that my brother had a walk-off in the big leagues, my uncle had a walk-off in the big leagues.
It was time.
And I had not had one. I've had a couple opportunities, but I didn't have any. So it was funny that I think it was honestly the next day that I was able to get my first walk-off hit. So now they can't hold that against me at family dinner.
Yeah, right. So had they been had Josh been reminding you of that? Is that something that they brought up to you?
No, they didn't.
Okay.
They haven't brought it up, but it's funny because at family events we do get to talk about their walk-offs, and my uncle shows us his walk-off from 30 years ago, his walk-off homer, like as if it happened yesterday. So we've seen that video a million times, and my brother, no, he doesn't brag or anything about that. But it's cool to be able to join a family with that accomplishment.
That's cool.
I got an idea. You show your uncle your check, your paycheck. See, maybe I haven't had a walk-off, but it's got a lot more zeros than yours did.
That ain't
No,
bad.
don't worry. He complains about that. He still gets his pension check from the MLB.
Yeah, he's
great.
okay.
That's great.
He's
He
okay.
tells us about that.
That's great.
We were talking earlier in the show with Andy Fried, who, of course, is the play-by-play voice for the Rays, and he was telling, there's this cool Towson connection there. I wonder how, unique that was for you in coming to a new team. And even though you guys aren't anywhere near the same age and he's not a player, but, just having that unique shared experience that you both went to Towson and connecting with someone like that, how cool was that for you?
That was awesome. We sat there in the dugout and talked for 30 minutes about all our experiences that he had at Towson, my experiences that I had at Towson. And it's also pretty awesome to have a guy from there. The school is, I guess, not the most known. So when you do have people that are alma maters and have graduated from there, we feel like I have a very, very good connection with them, whether they're play sports or whether they've done something outside of sports. So it's extremely awesome to be able to have Andy there, be able to connect with him about that.
That's really cool. And then this Rays team, right? I get that. I'm sure you guys are frustrated about, being right around 500, and that's not where you want to be. But given everything that this team has been through injury-wise, particularly with the pitching, and knowing that there are guys on your team that maybe aren't performing at the level that everyone knows they're capable of, is there a feeling hey, yeah, we're not exactly where we want to be, but there's every reason to believe that we're going to be able to get there as the season goes on?
Yeah, baseball is a huge game about, confidence and getting things rolling. So for us, we can sit here and, think about, what's happened in the past or what's happened in the season and the loss that we had and the record we have. Or we can think about what do we need to do to become the team that we know we're capable of, and what at-bats we need to put together and what plays we need to make and all that thing. So I feel like we're more focused on that and keeping the culture and not, getting down on ourselves to where things start, rolling down the wrong way. We're staying up, we're still pulling for each other. So we know what we're capable of, and we continue to fight through that and, fighting and getting these any win that we can get is going to help the ball continue to roll.
All right. He is Richie Palacios, and we look forward, Richie, to seeing you here in Baltimore this weekend, man. Congratulations on a great start to the season in Tampa. Always appreciate you spending time with us. Thanks so much for doing this morning, man.
All right, thanks for understanding. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Richie. Richie Palacios with us here on GCR. Appreciate him taking the time for us. Great guy, and he's
had him on before.
He almost always whenever and we had talked to him when he was there was a lot of hype around Richie as being someone who was capable of doing this. This was not a wildly off the radar type of thing that he was going to be able to reach the bigs.
Was he originally drafted by St. Louis?
Cleveland, right? Yeah, Cleveland. And that's where he made his MLB debut, was in Cleveland. And now, obviously, with the Tampa Bay Rays. I know you got to duck out.
Yep. Got to duck out.
At Stan the Fan on Twitter.
At Stan the Fan on Twitter.
Monday.
X, and Monday I'll be on with Ross and Luke, probably more like 3:30, 4 o'clock-ish.
And Power Rankings as well on Monday.
Will be out on Monday
and Stan and I will both be at K&S Automotive tomorrow. What time are you going to be there?
I'm going to be there from about 9:30 to 11:30.
Okay.
Come get your car wash. It benefits what the
boys of Hamden, which this year is going to benefit the SPCA. So that's if you remember a couple years ago, Stan and I were involved with the Boys of Hamden calendar. It's our raw sex appeal. They couldn't get enough of it. And so we're back this year, and we're doing a very
Is Griffin going to join us?
I'm not opposed to Griffin joining us. We'll have to talk that through. I think he was still scarred from being here for the photo shoot a couple years ago.
Exactly.
We're doing a very sexy car wash tomorrow in Hamden at K&S. Come join us. Stan will be there in the morning. I'll be there probably late morning, early afternoon. But we want you to come support the Boys of Hamden and what we're doing to lift up the SPCA. So come join us tomorrow at K&S.
All right, thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
you, brother. That's Stan the Fan Charles. We're going to continue the conversation this morning as our next guest now gets to call himself a national champion, or I guess again. This is a cool the story to me is the fun part with him going from Maryland to Notre Dame, his brother being there, his other brother still being back at Maryland. It was really a Burlace family affair this weekend in Philadelphia. Joining us now from the national champion Notre Dame Fighting Irish, he is the pride of St. Mary's. He is BJ Burlace, and he's with us now here on GCR. BJ, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you. Thanks for taking the time, and congratulations, man.
Yeah, Glenn, thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm grateful to be here.
Dude, it's great to chat with you. To be able to call yourself a national champion again, right? Like, I not a lot of people get to do this multiple times. What is the feeling like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely lucky. I think it's a really cool feeling. I'm blessed to have been able to play with so many great players and great teams that have really helped me along the way. All the credit goes to those guys, coaches, my family. But it's been a great ride.
BJ, we know, like, it's interesting because I think from the outside, a lot of people would say, why go places where it's so loaded and there's not obvious paths for you to, like, get the minute? Why not go somewhere where, like, you're going to be a starter immediately and play? Can you walk me through, between Maryland and Notre Dame, why you made the choices that you made and why it was okay for you maybe to, like, kind of take a step back role-wise to be on those teams?
Totally. I mean, growing up, at the end of the day, all I really ever wanted to do was win national championships.
Yeah.
And going to the upper level schools really gave me the opportunity to compete for championships. I've never been really affected by how much I play or anything like that. I think it's just being with a great group of guys is something special. Obviously the opportunity to compete for championships. Why wouldn't you want to be the best?
I get it. It's that ring means the exact same. Like that one's that you're gonna carry those rings with you for the rest of your life, dude. And they
totally,
are gonna, I have no doubt those feelings will be significant. All right, so what was so fascinating to me this weekend was your family, right? Like, for everybody that doesn't know, your brother plays still at Maryland. Your other brother plays with you at Notre Dame. Your dad played at Maryland. How did the family handle everything going into Monday? Who was wearing what? What did it look like for the Burlace family this weekend?
It was a mess. I mean, it was. I will say, start off, it was a special May for the whole family.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get everybody in the same place as often, and we got lucky that we played at Hofstra in the quarterfinals. Maryland was there, so we played the first game, and then Maryland played after us, so we got to stay and watch that. So like I was with my family in the Maryland section, going crazy for Colin. Yeah, it's so what's been really cool is like getting the updates from my family on what they're gonna wear, right? So my mom now wears like white every weekend just to stay in the middle.
Stay neutral. She's doing the Switzerland thing.
Yeah. And then everybody else will wear Notre Dame stuff up, and then after our game, they bring a change of clothes, go out to the car, throw on Maryland shirt, hat, and then back into the stadium.
I mean, that's dedication, man. Like that is.
Yeah, seriously.
But what did they?
I'm super lucky.
What did they do for? What did they do for Monday then? What did everybody else wear on? Was it the? So your mom did the neutral thing. Did everybody else?
Did the white.
Okay.
Everybody else was wearing St. Mary's stuff. My little sister wore Gavin's high school jersey.
Okay.
A lot of St. Mary's support.
There you go. Just we love everybody. We love everybody. We'll be happy for it's Mama Kelsey at the Super Bowl, right?
Yes, same thing.
Exactly like that.
Yeah. And I was telling her because my mom was telling me she was wearing white. I was like, Mom, you know we're wearing white, right?
So you're really kind of supporting it, like you're not just so you know, you're really saying that you're rooting for us. That's the way that it's gonna be.
It was funny.
Was part of the decision to go to Notre Dame, as much as it's about championship, was part of it the opportunity to like have had the chance to play with both of your brothers? Like, was that something that was really important to you?
100%. Yeah. Me and Gav have always been 5 years off, so we never played together growing up or throughout middle school, high school, anything. And then when I got the COVID year, I was like, this kind of lines up perfectly. Like I'll get a year with him, my last year, his first year. I'll be able to help him out, kind of get him used to the college life. But yeah, he was, I would say was the biggest factor in me going there.
That's cool. That's a really cool thing that like we talk about experiences that people aren't going to have. Like there's going to be a very small number of humans that are going to be able to say, I got to play with both of my brothers in college and win championships, right? Like, dude,
one with each of them.
That's almost that gives me goosebumps thinking about it, man.
Yeah,
like that is an unreal story, dude.
I'm just so lucky to be fortunate enough to have the opportunity to.
We all know how good that 2022 I know you're gonna dodge it. I know you're gonna avoid it. But like that 2022 Maryland team loaded, insanely good. This team this year that you are on loaded, insanely good. Yeah. Hypothetically, those two teams square off. Maybe you play one half with one half with the other, right?
Okay.
Who wins between the 2022 Maryland team and the 2024 Notre Dame team?
I think it depends on the situation.
Okay.
Is it a national championship game where you have to play on Saturday?
That's a good point, right? Like, well, and did you play the early semifinal or the late semifinal, right? Let's say it's the quarter.
Yeah.
Now this is going to make it impossible. It's the quarterfinals.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. John Tillman don't lose in the quarterfinals, bro.
Yeah, it's such a hard question. I
knew.
Just lucky to be a part of both of them. I think, that Maryland team was special.
Yeah.
I think they would probably be the favorites going into it. But I don't think Notre Dame would be far behind.
No,
I think if you play 10 times, it's probably 5-5.
Obviously you knew, right? Because you were joining the reigning national champions. But like the first time you showed up, did you look around and say like, oh my God, this isn't like, I think that was the one thing that became clear to everybody as the tournament went on. Like the third midfield is quality and probably could be the top midfield for a team that can make a deep run in the tournament. Like how quickly did it really click for you? Like how deep, how incredibly loaded that group was when you got there?
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, we could see it in the fall. We had a bunch of guys out for the fall, a bunch of the top guys, but there was never any doubt with who else we had left. I mean, it like going around practice, it's like you're just mind blown by what a lot of these guys can do. Even the guys that you guys would have no idea who they are.
No, I believe it, right? Like if that's how good the guys are, that my God, man, like it was just insane how crazy it was.
No, it's insane, and I'm sure we'll get to see a bunch of those guys next year. I mean, we graduated like 25 seniors and fifth years,
and yet like Chris Kavanaugh, like there's still guys that are going to be around moving forward. Was there what was the reaction on Monday when it was 2-0? Was it just like had you guys been through so much that it was just like, okay, that happens. Sometimes the other team scores the first 2 goals. Was there any like, yo, what's going on? What was that sort of moment like when the start clearly wasn't what you were looking for?
Yeah. I don't think there was any concern on our side. I think we all knew that we just needed to kind of get through the first 5 minutes, get settled down, start running our sets, tighten up a little bit defensively. And I think we all had a feeling that it would work out. I mean, I would say it was, you want to score the first 2,
right? Because
it's a big momentum thing, and they were going crazy. But I don't think there was ever any doubt, really.
If I could, because I wrote about this a little bit this week, I don't want to take anything away from the disappointment I have no doubt Maryland fans feel, and I don't want to take anything away from guys like your brother and like Ajax, who's insane. But this was not a Maryland team that had like Tewaaraton finalists on offense. There was no Logan Wisnauskas in this group. There was no, there wasn't a Bernhardt in this group. How impressed were you, knowing what you know about John Tillman, the fact that he was able to get back to championship Monday with a team that didn't have, a Pat Kavanaugh type, right? Like, how impressive from afar was that for you, knowing him, knowing that team, that they were back there to try to give you guys a chance on Memorial Day?
Yeah, I mean, it's a testament to what coach has done there.
Yeah.
I think he did a great job this year with all of those. I mean, they still have amazing players. Like,
yes, I hate saying that because, like, obviously Luke Weirman's pretty freaking good, man.
Yeah, he was probably the best player in the world.
Right.
Memorial Day.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's a testament to what coach is able to do and get out of his guys. I mean, it's I remember texting some of those guys. I'm still really close with a bunch of them.
Of course.
And I was texting some of them like halfway through the season, and this was like when they had started losing a couple games, and we were just like, how perfect of a team is this for Tillman to take to the Final Four? Right? Like, he just does it.
Yeah, of course. Like, nobody sees it coming. Everybody says, oh, it's a down year for Maryland. Maryland's not the same. And all of a sudden you look up and you're like, right, they're playing for a title. Right?
Yeah, crazy.
Like, that's just
crazy.
the way that
I'm
it
happy
works,
for those
man.
guys.
That's awesome, dude.
It was, I mean, it definitely was a little bittersweet feeling, knowing we were playing them. And I said all week, I was like, this probably sucks either way for me more than anybody. But no, I get it. And now
it's just cool. And again, like, now both your brothers have been national champions. Like, that's a really cool thing, man. That is so cool.
And I got the bragging rights because I have 2 now.
It's true. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Like, you get the big steak at the cookout moving forward now, right?
Yeah.
That's the way that works. That's kind of the oh man. Well, I guess Gavin has the chance to maybe outdo that moving forward.
Totally.
But for the moment, you're top dog. That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
BJ,
awesome.
what's next for you, right? Like, you've been doing this for, obviously lacrosse been such a huge part of your life. Like, what's next for you?
Totally. I think right now I'm just kind of taking some time to take this all in. I mean, I just got back from South Bend yesterday. I went up to the Tewaaraton ceremony for Pat and Lee last night, which was an awesome event. I think just taking a break, step back, figure some things out. I'm looking for a job still for the fall, so getting that figured out. And well, dude, not too much going on this summer though.
really an incredible, like the story of your family and this sport. It's awesome and happy for you, and it really is so incredibly unique that you get to be the guy that said, I won national championships with 2 different brothers at 2 different schools. It's such a really, really cool thing, man. BJ, congratulations. Awesome chatting with you today. Thank you for taking the time for us. Best of luck, whatever it is moving forward, all right?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Go Irish.
That's BJ Burlace with us here on GCR. And, yeah, like not someone who is a significant contributor necessarily to the championship team this year, but, like, I just thought the story was so cool. Like, such a cool story of and I appreciate the way that he said it. Like, I wanted to win national championships. Yeah, maybe he transfers down and he could be a all-conference, all-type of whatever performer, but I want to win national championships. And now he gets to say that he won 2 of them, which is a really cool thing. Don't forget that for the latest, of course, BJ played at St. Mary's, and anything that you want to know related to what's happened in championship season in spring sports, you can find it at County Sports Zone, countysports.zone, proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Thanks today to BJ Burlace. Thanks also to Richie Palacios, to Andy Freed, to Ben Verlander, and to Stan the Fan. We'll get it all up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh, my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. No bat around tomorrow morning. The guys are off this week. They'll be back the following Saturday, but no bat around for this week. Reed and I will be with you Sunday at noon over on 105.7 The Fan, and then, of course, we're back on Monday, Stuff and Things. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. I guess I should thank all of our sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. Visit Hagerstown in Washington County. AJ Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery. Thanks to Haley for stopping by. That's always pleasant. Royal Farms, Ed Block Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costas Inn, MSAA, Maryland Jockey Club, Glory Days Grill, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. What?
Well, you did it twice.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
My bad. At Glenn Clark Radio.
No, you're good.
Have a great weekend. Go Birds. Go.
Whip Snakes.
Dukes.